Alrighty, everybody. Welcome on into the Central Committee stream with your host, Mike from PA. We are live. Once again, welcome on in. I hope you guys are doing well. We got a brand new emote here, June 9th, 2026. DSA Cheeks has hit the timeline. The first cat emote on the stream. Vio also has Vio Cheeks, which is her is the first Shermie emote. I'm disturbed. You should be. This is a Vio gift. It looks like really large balls. You use your imagination as you see fit, but it is not. Why are his eyes doing that? He's 6'7"ing. Did you see Bloomberg almost died at the game yesterday? I didn't look at anything related to the Knicks game. All I saw is that they lost. Has Trump attacked Hassan? Yes. Through the website, whitehouse.gov. I don't know if you guys saw that, but they posted a bunch of like fake liberal chat. We are dangerously close to a morning hype train. What the fuck? Let's get going, folks. You got a small mention by Francesca Hong on the most recent episode of the Dig podcast. Ooh, Linky. I'm not a Spurs guy. I just am not a. Is that okay? Can I just like again? The Spurs are like, what's a good analogy from another sport? They're like the New Jersey Devils of the early aughts. It's like you know you can't argue with their success. But it just, if there's a Devils game on, I was turning it off because I just didn't like the style of play. I don't know if you saw my message yesterday. I'm a union man now with IUPAT. Thank you for being a source of revolutionary optimism over the last few years. Congratulations on the union job. The fight continues. I'm thinking about joining my local DSA. Why wouldn't you? Just join it. I'm going to tell you guys something. The idea that you could be, listen, I am not anti-PSL, but the future of American socialism is going to be in DSA. I know Hassan is like, oh, I'm org agnostic, blah, 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 blah. Bruh. It's no. Even if you think that DSA is too cringe, the reason why you think that is because it's so popular that it's actually running people for office and winning. There are more radical lefties at DSA than there are at PSL because DSA is that much bigger. I mean, it is what it is. Today I learned Mike is anti-trap. I mean, who wouldn't be? It's boring as fuck. It's fascinating because he's to be what I am to regular height people. It's a novel experience seeing someone that tall. If you think the NBA is dirty in 2026, oh, I don't think so. I was a really big hater of Hack-a-Shaq, though. Hack-a-Shaq was fucking horseshit. That was actually probably one of the most damaging trends in basketball, and they should have done more. I hate that. I'll be honest. I hate anytime a sport has a super standout athlete who's dominating, and the other teams do these like basically cheat strategies to just hold down the best player in the league. That's a fucking major mistake for the league. They should thoroughly punish that shit. Like any kind of systematic cheating. Try to hold out a superstar is fucking insane. It should not be allowed. Trump fell asleep at the Knicks game. Yeah, I know. God, he's so fucking old. He's old. Can someone just wheel grandpa into a retirement home? God, he's so fucking old. I'm a numbers guy. Can we watch him get booed? Yeah. All right. So what are we talking about today? The Maine primary election is today. So we'll see just how much the I'm going to show you I don't like Graham Plattner vote is. I think one of the things to keep in mind is you could maybe it's because I'm an old political hack, but at a certain point you get so tired of seeing these low effort smear jobs. And I think it's embarrassing when normies act like they matter or that they even care. It's just novelty. You have a person and then you learn all the gossip about that person. And it's salacious, and then 5 minutes later, everyone stops caring, and it goes back to being about what politics is really about, which is policies and a contention between who gets power, labor or capital. That's really all it comes down to, and it just gets boring. Oh, yeah. So I'm just like, watching people pretend to care about it, or maybe they do and they're just dumb. You know what I mean? Like, it's the hot goss. David A. Costello basically had no money and no campaign. Janet Mills, she dropped out, but she didn't drop out, right? So she's still in. She suspended her campaign, but she didn't drop out. Did you see the videos of Knicks fans jumping Spurs fans last night? The feel-good story is disappearing. I wouldn't. I mean, it's very cringe. That's so fucking cringe. There is a certain type of like dude who thinks that like I'm gonna like show our city's dominance by like, I don't know. It's just hooligan culture. It's so embarrassing. It's because they have nothing to fight for. They have no cause that matters. They have nothing in them that they have that spirit of like, I want to fight for something, and their life is just a void of meaninglessness. So they fucking attach to like sports fandom, which, you know, it's like the one place where men are allowed to admire other men without being called gay. You know what I mean? Like, it's the realm of our society where we have corned off like, oh, you're allowed to admire professional athletes and that's not gay. But in any other circumstance, would you wear a shirt with another man's name on your back? You know what I mean? Like, like, come on. It's a little bit. It's like the safe place where your masculinity is. Oh yeah, this pitch poll is so funny. Wait, when voters, okay, U.S. Senate 2026, when voters are informed of Graham Plattner's scandals, huh? It gets better? Shockingly, when voters are informed of sexual assault rumors, Plattner improves, leading by 8.1%. They tried to do sexual assault rumors that aren't even true? Rumors allege Graham Plattner sexually assaulted multiple women and texted, I would rape them to show them dominant. That never happened. This is actually a lie. This is actually a complete lie. That's not what he said. He never said that. That's fucking insane. This is just a complete lie. What happened was the right-wing hack said that she would say he promised that if someone broke into their apartment that he wouldn't kill them, that he would rape them to show that he's dominant. Which, I don't know if you know that. That's a fucking joke. If a mugger came into my house, or, you know, a robber came into my house, I wouldn't kill them. I would rape them to show. That's a dumb joke. Now, I don't think it's particularly funny, and I'm sure he wouldn't say it now, but it's like 14-year-old joke that they're trying to say that means he would rape people. It's fucking lies, man. It's fucking lies, dude. Like, come on, man. Like, it's something that you need to understand about politics. If you don't have scandals, they'll just make shit up. It's almost better to have a real scandal because they'll fixate on it as opposed to just making shit up. Why do we have so many Maine polls? We have no polls from any other fucking campaign. It's crazy. And even with all the polls, they still can't get good results for Collins. Holy shit. Mike, did you listen to the Daily on Plattner? No, I did not. Jesus Christ, they're still talking about him. Oh my God, it's the AIPAC fucking Stooges. The AIPAC fucking Stooges. Students for Israel and AIPAC award winner Katie Gluck. Wow, I can't believe they have the AIPAC people fresh off of writing smears against Mamdani. The reality is they didn't. The Democratic Party didn't run anybody against Plattner. Now that it's over, well, they did. They tried. They cleared the field for Janet Mills. Plattner ran. He got the excitement behind him. He won. And they're all mad that they didn't run because they think they could have buried him with the scandals. But they didn't. Mike, did you practice your sprints last night? Vio is coming for your 50-meter dash champion title. I feel like this race is going to be a very important thing that we do because sometimes, I don't know how to put this, delusion and copium enters the brains of Vio about her ability to run faster than me, and I can tell you that there is absolutely no fucking way. Okay, I've taken Vio into physical, like I've taken Vio into like situations where you have to like be athletic, and Vio has pretty good hand-eye coordination. I will give Vio that. Like, he has pretty good hand-eye coordination, but as far as like dexterity, you know, speed, not exactly the VO specialty. True delusion is picking either the Republican or Democratic Party and expecting them to change anything. They're both controlled by evil. There is something, thank you, Chatter. You helped me, you reminded me to bring up an important way to think about the world. There is stupid cynicism and there's smart cynicism, right? And the powers that be use stupid cynicism against you to make you a nerd, all right? Stupid cynicism is the type of cynicism you hear all the time. Both parties are exactly the same. Doesn't matter what you vote for. Nothing matters. You know, I don't care about politics because nothing ever changes. That, ladies and gentlemen, is low IQ, stupid cynicism. Because it's not, it sounds sophisticated, but in reality, all it is a declaration of apathy and doing nothing and being lazy. And it gives you the right to be apolitical, because being political is actually pointless. So I'm actually wise by not doing anything. That is exactly what these powers that be want you to believe. That's exactly what Donald Trump wants you to believe, because it makes you a subject. It means that you are just going through life and whatever happens to you happens to you. You are not politically active. You are not in control of anything. You are not part of anything. You are just really on the menu for the powers that be. It is dumb guy shit. Dumb people. And I say dumb intentionally because I want you, if you are one of those people, I want you to recognize something. I see you. I hear you. You're stupid. And you've been manipulated into an opinion that serves people who are exploiting you. It's really that simple. So notice that I said stupid cynicism and smart cynicism. What the fuck is smart cynicism? Well, smart cynicism is an understanding of the world. It is an understanding of both higher order thinking and analysis, like dialectical materialism or the conflict between labor and capital. It is an understanding of America's political organizations and influences. It is the way that things actually operate. So it becomes smart because you have a method of understanding who you are dealing with and how corrupted they are and who they are beholden to. These are actual questions that have answers, right? Like, for example, when I look at somebody like Claire Valdez running for Congress in New York City, Claire is somebody who is beholden to New York City DSA. She's beholden to a sort of democratic socialist political milieu. There are different cliques and caucuses and political theories that are within New York City DSA. Some of them are more established in the sense that they are connected to existing organizations like, you know, SEIU or other trade unionists. There are anarchists. There are certain types of like liberal hegemonic beliefs that predominate even in left-wing spaces in America, right? And Claire's very much dependent upon the approval of Zohran Mamdani, right? So Claire Valdez is somebody who's, when I look at her positions and her policy positions, I know that she's going to support them, because if she doesn't, her support network will be significantly harmed, right? But she's running as a Democrat, which means she has to maneuver within the reality of the Democratic Party. There's only so far that she could acceptably push the bounds of American politics. Now, she's at the far left edge of pushing the Overton window, right? But she's probably not going to say American troops deserve to die in combat, right? She's probably not going to use arguments like the NYPD is a fascist, organization. She might severely criticize the NYPD. She might call ICE those things. But because she is bound up with the conventional takes of her voters as well, right? Like, if she pushes her rhetoric too far to the left, regular voters will reject her. Even in one of the, most radical places in the entire country, there is a bounds of acceptable rhetoric for her. And then we look at somebody like, I don't know, who's a good example? Susan Collins. Susan Collins is a Zionist. She takes hundreds of millions of dollars from capital. She works within the Republican Party. Like, we can examine all the elements of Susan Collins, and we can determine that how her power is created and reinforced, and we can analyze it, right? And what I'm trying to get you to understand is that politics is not just the realm of ideas. It is a reflection of material reality, which involves both the space and the superstructure, and they are related. But there is play, there is leverage, there is difference, there is a realm of maneuver and space to maneuver, and there are ways of using counter hegemonic theories to usurp and control. Like, we don't live inside of a mechanistic situation. We have an absolute lot of space in order to make change. And so when you say the Democratic Party, that, you know, most of what you would say about the Democratic Party being bad is absolutely true, but it lacks specificity. It lacks operability. It lacks any kind of predictive or useful political like action plan, I guess is what I would say. Like, you're just saying Democratic Party bad. Of course it's bad. Right now, it's controlled by the capitalist class. It's a pro-capitalist party. It is that way because the voters have not rejected. They have not rejected pro-capitalist Democrats. It is a reflection of the voters' tolerance for it, not because of like a rule of nature. And whether they like it or not, the elections are not currently rigged. The structures are set up to disadvantage our worldview. That's absolutely true, but not so much that we can't ever win. And we're also working within the realm of the masses, what the masses are actually willing to tolerate. The reason we don't have an ML party with 1 million members engaged with like revolutionary struggle is because the masses are not there. They just aren't. They don't support it. And so how do we change the environment in order to make people more tolerant or even supportive of socialist thought? And that is what we call the war of position. We are trying to create a world, a subculture, a counter-hegemonic belief system that operates within the human terrain that actually exists. Not wishing upon a star for a rapture day where suddenly everybody realizes that capitalism bad, and then we all at once we sweep everyone out of power. It's some sort of revolutionary yelp where all the structures and systems collapse at once. That's not real. It's magical thinking. If they don't support it or feel like they economically can't, I have decisions I want to change, but I can't at this time, i.e. shit investments. Okay, that's exactly my point. Net favorability ratings. Is this nationally? Is this national favorability ratings? You're doing favorability ratings of Graham Plattner? Nobody knows who the fuck he is. 60% don't know. Yeah, no shit. Normies have no idea who's running for Senate in Maine. No shit. By the way, if you know who Graham Plattner is, you're fucking weird. I've tried to tell you this. Running for Senate in Maine. Did I say sane minute? Sorry. You don't know who is running for Senate in Maine. You're fucking weird. 60% don't know. Do you think he will blow Collins out of the water today? Well, they're not running on the same ballot, so no. Assad Piker. Favorable, unfavorable. Don't know, 66%. The race that likes Assad Piker the most, black people. All that happened is, and this is something that I've tried to tell you, Fox News grandpas don't like Hassan. Wow, look at that. Very unfavorable. Conservative. 25%, very unfavorable. MAGA, 25% unfavorable. Wow. What do you know? He's just been pushed on Fox News to Fox News grandpas. I mean, it really is that simple. Assad Piker, unfavorable. 45 to 64, 17. This is the Fox News grandpas. Nobody knows who the fuck these people are. Trump nuke, truth nuke. I don't know why I put Trump. Fuck. My fingers are disconnected from my brain. Are you okay? People who know about. Exactly. It's one of those things where I'm like always shocked with how like political people think that they're normal. Normal people are not talking about politics and thinking about it every day. They think about it a couple times a year. And I think this is probably, I mean, this is a national favorability. Like, who gives a fuck about national favorability? But that being said, like, you can see what really all they were trying to do with Graham Plattner is take the bloom off the rose, right? That's what they were trying to do. Very unfavorable for Graham Plattner. It's MAGA. It's conservatives. And then liberals like him. Surprise, surprise. But mostly this is like looking at this response. It is low name recognition, low name ID. Nobody knows who the fuck this guy is. Being driven by conservatives not liking him. 35% of MAGA, self-identified MAGA, disapprove of Graham Plattner. Wow, what a surprise. Reminds me of this classic. This is what it's like talking with people who obsess over politics. Silicate chemistry is second nature to us geochemists. So it's easy to forget that the average person probably only knows the formulas for olivine and 1 or 2 feldspars. And quartz, of course. Of course. Even when they're trying to compensate for it, experts in anything wildly overestimate the average person's familiarity with their field. What's our caption today? How could anyone consider themselves a well-rounded adult without a basic understanding of silicate geochemistry? Silicates are everywhere. It's hard to throw a rock without throwing one. Yeah. I think like a lot of politics is just basically understanding that there is a group of very motivated, intelligent people who think about it, and then the masses who don't, but who get interested in it for a few months every few years. Like, that's really the reality of it. And like, the more people are interested, that's when you have the opportunity. That's why, like, I'm very comfortable with the idea of vanguardism. Why? Because I've been in politics long enough to understand that the vast majority of people are uninterested. And if your political ideology is every day you have to think about politics, isn't that cool? Everyone will hate you. That's why anarchism is like the worst political philosophy of all time. You know what I want to have happen? I want people that are really, fixated on it and very intelligent, making sure shit around me just works. That's what I want. I want to wake up in the morning, breathe clean air, drink clean water, eat wholesome food, be able to walk out my front door and get onto swift, punctual public transit to take me to beautiful public parks that are well maintained. And then if I break my leg on the hiking trail, I would be whisked to a state-owned hospital that provides me with the medically necessary treatment to ensure that I get happy and healthy again. I don't want to be waking up voting yes or no on a bunch of shit I have no idea about. I don't want to be voting. The acceptable limit for arsenic in drinking water is 50 parts per million. Yes, no. I don't know. Why the fuck are you asking me that? And I certainly don't want the majority of people to be voting yes or no, because they don't know what the fuck it is. Best case scenario, they've heard of arsenic before, they think it's scary, and they vote it's bad. But what if arsenic is commonly 50 parts per million? I don't know. I doubt it. That sounds really high. But you get my point. It's like, I don't know. I am not a biochemist. You want a technocracy? Any society that doesn't involve specialization is going to be stupid. It's going to require expertise. It's just going to. We're not going to live in a world without expertise. We haven't lived like that for literally thousands of years. Lack of expertise, lack of specializations equals lower productivity. That's the way it's been for over 1,000 fucking years. Me accusing my doctor of being a technocrat because of how he has a medical degree. That's exactly what we're talking about. I mean, like, if you really get into anarchist thought, they will ultimately say that there shouldn't be medical degrees because that is unjust hierarchy. In before anarchist dabblers start disagreeing with me. You haven't read enough of your own theory to disagree with me. This place was once a free heaven, and it has been allowed to be taken over by evil because free will is respected on the other side to a degree, but things are going to change here for the better. I mean, arsenic in drinking water must be reported when it's over 10 parts per billion. Oh, no, Bamsler, I'm sure. Okay, that sounds about right to me. But again, how do we know it's 10 and not 5? Right? Like, how do we know it's 10 is fine, but 5 is fine, but 10 isn't? You know what I mean? Like, somewhere along the line, somebody said this arbitrary number, like this number is an acceptable degree of risk. I'm sure 9 parts per billion that causes some sort of effect, right? There is a judgment call that's being made. Wow, this anarchy guy sounds bad. He's entirely made out of a straw. The problem with anarchists is whenever you try to engage with their theories, they'll immediately say you're straw manning them, and then you'll be like, okay. And then, okay, let's have a conversation. And then it's whatever they think and they pull out of their ass in the moment is what anarchy is. So it's ultimately, you're punching a fucking jello mold because every single anarchist have a different idea of what anarchy is. You can never actually nail them down on anything. It's like trying to nail jelly to the wall. And they'll say, well, in my theory, there are no authorities. So anarchy is what everybody says it is as an individual level. And you're like, okay, thank you for proving my point. All right, what was I saying before I started getting distracted by shitting on anarchy? Like, if you want to know why the American left sucks, it's the predomination of anarchist praxis in our movements. Like, that's unironically the compatible left. We're like, why does the left have no leaders and is like fucking no organizations and there's nothing that's ever built? We have all these moments of incredible frustration and anger where millions of people take to the streets and then nothing comes out of it. It's because we don't build orgs. We don't build organizations. We don't have leaders. We don't have any kind of like long-term interpersonal authority. We don't have any kind of like commitment. So yeah, nothing happens because there's nothing built. The anger cools. Morning passes. People become accommodated to a lot of bad shit. How do you feel about running a third party as a way to extract concessions on issues from the Democratic Party? It doesn't work because third party irrelevancy is baked into our system already. Look at how fascism has succeeded in America. Did fascism run on the fascism party? Or did they do entryism into the Republicans? Did the fascists do their own party? Or did they do entryism into the fucking Republicans? Did they exploit conservative anxieties about the left and capitalist instability and then entryism into a fucking the Republican Party? And the Republican Party was not a fascist party in the past. It wasn't. It now is. They have changed it by doing entryism into it. Yes, because the Republicans already agree with them on 90%. Because they changed them. Do you think the Republican Party of 1950 is the same as the Republican Party of 2026? I'll let you know. The answer is no. Like there has been a concerted effort for neo-fascist politics to be inculcated into the Republican Party since the Powell memo. And they literally built this step by step over generations. And then they had a charismatic personality to everybody to rally behind. Do you guys think it's a strength or a weakness of the Republicans that no matter what Donald Trump does, 40% of the country goes with it? Do you think that's a strength or a weakness? I want you to honestly answer the question. And the type of answer you give tells me how serious of a political thinker you are. Of course it's a strength. Now, is it bad for the country? Yes. But for them, it's a strength. Barry Goldwater was rejected in 1964 for being too far right. Today, he'd be a moderate Republican. Exactly. The only weakness is Trump is a moron. Is he, though? Is he, though? Is Trump a moron? Like, how many times do we keep falling for it before we recognize that we're the moron? Maybe Trump just understands human psychology better than we do. Maybe those of us who could see through his bullshit are actually the weirdos and the rarities. Now, I happen to think Donald Trump is a moron on the things that I value, except he's been elected president of the United States twice while being a complete grifter, rapist, wife abuser, cheat, fraud man, con artist, slumlord, rapist. Yet somehow he's in the fucking White House. Just like Bad Faith Empanada, he's using the same stupid narratives of the enemy under the guise of legitimate criticism. They're calling for cancellation. In other words, they're dividing people instead of uniting them. They end up working for the liberals for free. Oh, yeah. I mean, Bad Empanada is, without a doubt, a federal agent. I mean, there's no doubt about it. There's no doubt about it. Because everything he does is calculated to disarm and destroy the left. There is nothing that he has done has advanced anything positively at all in any concrete way. There's nothing, literally nothing that you can point to. And that's how you could tell what his goals are. Ro Khanna is stated by Graham Flatter. Ro Khanna has attached himself to risky political causes before. Few carry as much political consequence as the Maine Senate race. Here's what's going to happen. Here's what's going to happen. People are bored, and Graham Plattner is the shiny object. But at the end of the day, Donald Trump is going to do something even more stupid, and Graham Plattner is going to come up and say it's bad. It is June, and Graham Plattner is, because he's been attacked by the Democratic Party, he's free. He's not beholden to them. He'll come out and say whatever the fuck he wants. And the problem is, the Democratic Party needs Maine. It's not 2020 anymore. We don't have like all these Senate seats that we can win and be fine. They have to get Maine. It's impossible for them to have the Senate without Maine. They can't abandon Maine. They abandon Maine, they've given up their plausibility of taking the Senate. They have to support Maine. So he's not going to be abandoned like Mandela Barnes. It's just not going to happen. The parties and projects should be avoided, at least for socialists, communists, liberals. It's normal. They support that. They got their... Okay, I'm going to help you understand why you don't know what the fuck you're talking about. First of all, what country are you from? That's number one. Number two, you just don't know what you're talking about. Oh, there are socialist suck-thumbs all over Europe. They are anti-communist, neoliberal, support Israel, U.S. imperialism, very often collaborate with liberal conservative parties because they have a common view and targets. One of the things that's really frustrating about political science in general is that people are fighting political science debates that are literally, and I mean this, older than you. You are applying anachronistic political interpretations. The Soviet Union has, like, what year were you born? I need you to understand. Like, what year were you born? Like, they're not social democratic parties. They are liberal parties that have a name that is anachronistic. Like, they're not social democratic parties anymore. They're neoliberal parties. They just call themselves the social democrats. This happens a lot, okay? It happens a lot where people are, the old names of parties don't apply anymore. And you're using the fallacy of equivocation to trick people into dumb thinking. The Labor Party is not a Labor Party anymore. It is a neoliberal capitalist party. So when you say it's a social democratic party, you're really lying because it's not. Just like, so that's confusing. You're obscuring reality as opposed to explaining it. And the reason why I'm saying this is because the same thing is happening with the Democratic Party. The Democratic Party is not a party. I need you to understand that. It's a misnomer. It's not a party. There is no whip. There's a legislative whip, but that's not a whip because we don't live in a parliamentary system. Every politician is elected on their own. They are not part of a party list. They don't have to go through any party apparatus. There is no system to strip. They are the nominee if they win the primary. The party does not exist. There is no enforcement of any position. There is no money collected. You cannot be kicked out of the Democratic Party. It is quite simply a meaningless, bureaucratic self-ID. It doesn't mean anything. And when I say that, so like, for example, when Zoran Mamdani ran as a Democrat, does that matter? Why does that matter? Well, the answer is he was getting onto the Democratic Party ballot line. And there are millions of people that have the false consciousness that Democrat means something and Republican means something, which is not true, except in the most like vague sense. All right. It doesn't actually mean anything. But millions of people act like it does. Millions of people identify with Democrat. Just like if I were to say I was a Steeler fan. What does that mean? What the fuck does that mean? It is really just a statement of my own affinity. I like this thing. And it's a very, you know, honestly, calling myself a Steeler fan has more relevance to my identity than calling myself a Democrat. Democrat means fucking nothing. But by winning the primary, millions of people will vote for you because you're a Democrat. But that doesn't require you to do anything, and it doesn't require you to have any positions. So every time we run in the Democratic primary, what we're doing is we are stealing millions of votes for our policies. We're literally gaining more power than we otherwise would. Like, that is what you don't, like, it's a strategic decision. It doesn't actually mean anything. And then what happens is, you know, you go to DC and you'll join you join a caucus, right? Which is about aligning with what? The 220 most or 215 most left-wing people in Congress. There are not right-wing Democrats and left-wing Republicans, really. I mean, they are relative to each other, but there is no party overlap. It's a separation. Like, the most right-wing Democrat is to the left of the most left-wing Republican. So even if we stripped away all the party labels, they would largely cohere in the two groups that they are. So you are literally just describing a coalition. So when we run as a Democrat, what we're actually doing is we are hacking the system for our own benefit. Like, it's really that simple. It always frustrates me that people can't see that. And I'm somebody who wants our own party because I recognize that the Democratic Party label is kind of garbage, actually. And being associated with it probably hurts you more than it helps you. The problem is that if I were to run as an independent and somebody else runs as a Democrat, then I probably can't win. Like, did you see what happened to Zoran Mamdani, one of the most charismatic fucking people to ever run for office? And he barely got 50% of the vote in New York City? Why is that? Because somebody else ran with the support of the Democratic Party machine, who had a Democratic Party, who had the billionaires behind him, who had a lot of name recognition. And he took votes away that would have gone to Zoran Mamdani. If it had just been Sliwa versus Mamdani, what percentage of the vote do you think Zoran would have gotten? He would have won 75% of the vote or more. Okay? 70% or so, right? But he didn't. But the reason why he won instead of lost is because he had the Democratic Party label. If he had been the independent and Cuomo had been the Democrat, Cuomo would have probably won. So doing entryism is why he is the mayor today. And Democratic Party and the people who identify as Democrats have gone to the left. So millions of more people are now Democratic, like they are more supportive of democratic socialism than they would have been. What I'm describing is just reality. There's really no disagreement. The general plan, oh my God, thank you, Space Dad, for writing something so intelligent. The general plan is either we take over the Democratic Party, we get enough of clout from our good examples that get attacked by the Dem Party to form our own party that effectively kills off the Democratic Party. Similar to what happened in Mexico with AMLO and Scheinbaum. We're not there yet. There needs to be a lot of brand building for socialism for a purely socialist party vibe. Exactly! Exactly! The Democrats are America's PRI. AMLO was a PRI nominee for president. Scheinbaum, I think, was also a PRI member. Like, we're doing this for a reason. And like anybody who says, no, we shouldn't do it, you guys, you're wrong. You have an anti-empirical worldview. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is not socialism as I know it. You had a theory, run as a third party, socialist party, and then it'll build the party up. It didn't work. Like, how long are you going to try the same strategy? We've been trying it since fucking Eugene Debs. How many times are you going to try that strategy and have it fail? There's no sign that your strategy's working. So why are you so committed to it? That's what I want to know. Like, I don't see the evidence that it's working. How'd the write-in campaign go? It's the most moral strategy. Oh yeah, that's liberalism in a nutshell. How is anti-establishment not anti-imperialism? They are. They are. How'd the general strike go? By the way, we have a general strike planned. It's May 1st, 2028. Being led by Sean Fain in the UAW. Do you even know that? And you're like, why? What about 2027? Because the reason why it's 2028 is because they're trying to line up every union contract in the country to expire on May 1st, 2028. It's a way it's basically doing a loophole because general strikes are generally perceived to be illegal in American law. So what they're doing is they're trying to make sure that every union contract in America all expires on May 1st so that we have a constructive general strike. Again, if you don't know about this, then maybe you're not paying attention to the labor movement enough. Maybe you're not as smart as you think, because it's not a secret. Anyway, and I'm not trying to be insulting to you. I'm just saying that, like, hey, man, like, the reason why people are doing them it's because it is strategic. It is operating within the reality. And I got to tell you, I don't know about you. I have my disagreements with some of the decisions that Zoran has been forced to make, some of the compromises. But do you think Zoran being mayor of New York City has made socialism more popular in America or less? Serious question. I'm literally asking.
Doors open.
Welcome to part of the reasons why, you know, before we get watching this video, part of the reasons why Zoran winning is one of the arguments was that if you let a socialist get in charge, it'll ruin the city. It'll ruin everything. Everything will fall apart. Everything will suck. And that didn't happen. But for a lot of people, that was plausible until he took power.
The greatest city in the world. New York is home to more than 8 million people, 800 languages, and 300 neighborhoods. From Little Senegal in Manhattan to Little Sri Lanka on the North Shore of Staten Island, you're never far from home in New York City. We're so excited to have you here, whether it's for a brief visit or a longer stay. New York has so much to see. I wanted to share some of my favorite tips for visitors to help you feel at home while you're here. So put on some comfortable walking shoes. Let's go see this city together. We have the biggest 24/7 public transit system in the world. But don't worry, it's easier to get around than it looks. The official MTA app, or any Maps app, can help you out. If you're unsure, ask someone. New Yorkers are usually more helpful than our reputation suggests. Getting on the train or bus is as easy as tapping your phone. Stand to the right and walk on the left when you're riding an escalator. While you wait for the train, make sure to stand back on the platform and let people get off first. And if you have a backpack when you're on the train, make sure to take it off. Walking is the best way to get around our city. Stopping in the middle of the sidewalk? Not the best way. Make sure to look both ways for cars and bikes when crossing the street. Walk in here. If you need to give your feet a break, our city's licensed yellow cabs will get you wherever you need to go.
Hi, Mia.
Hey, Richard. Can you take me to the Natural History Museum?
Sure thing.
New York has some of the best museums in the world. Many of them, like the Museum of Natural History, even have times where you can visit for free. So make sure to check their website before you go. And on nice summer days, our city has more than 30,000 acres of parks and beaches to hang out in. They call it the city that never sleeps for a reason, because the food, art, and nightlife light up every borough. Whether you're eating, shopping, or just getting around, remember that we're all neighbors, so please treat everyone who's working hard to make your visit special with respect, and they'll return the favor. I love New York City, and I hope you will too. So no matter what brings you here, on behalf of everyone across the Big Apple, welcome home, my friends.
And like, part of the reason why this stuff is so important is because he's not, you know, I think a lot of people who are in the realm of ideas, which is where I like to live, they feel a certain type of resentment when somebody else is able to have the same ideas as them and get more popular from it, right? And they feel this like, you're not allowed to get popular from my ideas. You get this kind of possessiveness. And that's not what ideas are for. Ideas are to be transmitted so that they have an effect on the world. And part of the way that people are persuaded is through trust and interpersonal like perceptions. If I like someone, I'm more likely to go along with something they're arguing for. So when we have prominent faces in our movement that people like, even who are not mature politically, that means we're winning. We're persuading more people. We'd all be happy if Americans got all of that, but it's important you understand why and how Europe came to Europe and why today you don't commit the same mistakes Europeans have. We don't have any of the same systems that Europeans have. So we have to have different structures in order to effectively transmit ideas. The problem is that everybody here, what percentage of people do you think are committed socialists in America? Not identify as socialist, but understand and are committed revolutionary socialists willing to kill or die for the concept. And when I ask that question, I mean, there you go. Of course. I mean, it's probably a lot, but it's not enough. Now, how many people will sit in a Discord all day? Holy shit. Bryson, WC, thank you for the 10 tier ones. 10? 100 tier ones. Oh my God. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, Bryce, thank you so much. Guys, Steyer heads, it's probably not going to happen. Steyer heads, it's not going to happen. Oh, that was a good drop for Steyer, but probably not enough. That was a pretty good drop for Steyer, but not enough. He's got to be close. The Katie Porter difference. The Katie Porter is really what kept him from winning. Who the fuck would vote for Katie Porter? Pretty good drop for Steyer from Los Angeles County, but not quite enough. The fact that LA is so good for Steyer means the final margin will end up at like 100K vote lead for Hill. It sucks that it'll be so close. I think that's about right. I think it'll be less than 100,000 personally. I think this is probably right though. Steyer Bros, you know what? I ain't giving up. We ain't giving up. Alameda, what a good Steyer drop. I don't think the idea that he's been cooked since Wednesday is not true. That's not true. I think the reality is that it's because he's a billionaire. Honestly, like the type of people that we need to vote for Steyer, they hate billionaires. So you're asking people who hate billionaires to vote for a billionaire. It's just a contradiction. They're not going to act the way, like it's both a good thing and a bad thing. Holy shit, guys, by the way. Can we all bend our knees in thanks to Bryson WC? Can we get some bended knees? We have a hype train going on. Top sub gifter and top bit donor get the hype train conductor badge. Nobody has given any bits, so you could get the golden locomotive for 200 biddies right now. We're back above 6,000. Thank you so much, man. That's like so generous. You're the best. While it's unfortunate in this instance, given the other options, I think billionaires should be unelectable. I mean, in general, here's what I would say. Being a billionaire is bad, but the policies you support is more important than anything. Three-legged dog, thank you for the 5 tier ones. It's good that billionaires have contempt, good that liberals have contempt for billionaires, bad that they didn't consider specifics here. I think the takeaway is anti-billionaire billionaires are not ideal candidates. Exact. Even 100 millionaires like Psychot. Although I think Shoykot rather could have won if he picked a different district. Like I think he picked the wrong district, man. The heart of San Francisco is not it. He should have picked like a really weak Zionist incumbent in LA or something instead of an open seat. You know, like I think it was just a poor decision. But I guess that's his hometown, right? So Dave Rubin Superhead, thank you for the 5. All right, let's talk about Peru, where the lefties have pulled out.
This is Democracy Now!, democracynow.org. I'm Amy Goodman. Peru's presidential runoff is too close to call after voters took to the polls Sunday in a heated election between the daughter of a former imprisoned dictator, her name, Keiko Fujimori, and a leftist lawmaker, Roberto Sanchez. Peruvian election officials warned final results could take up to a month to confirm. The latest...
Oh, my God. Okay, so it's really too close to call. It really is too close to call. Right now, 8,910,310 versus 8,890,446. 50.05 to 49.944. Incredible.
This ballot count this morning showed Fujimori leading by just about a percentage point ahead of Sanchez, according to Reuters. Sanchez spoke from Lima Sunday.
Superhead fan.
In keeping with our democratic commitment, we have fulfilled our responsibility, and I urge all our fellow citizens to vote responsibly to save Peru and strengthen democracy. Let us respect the free vote and have the capacity to honor the agreements and the election results, always calling for democracy, justice, and social peace, and to move Peru forward.
Keiko Fujimori is the daughter of Peru's late U.S.-backed ruler Roberto Fujimori, who was convicted and imprisoned on crimes against humanity committed during his regime from 1990 to 2000. Peru is reeling from a period of political turmoil, with Sunday's runoff marking the 9th time Peruvians take to the polls to elect a new president in just 10 years. The entire Latin American region is experiencing one of its sharpest political shifts to the right in recent years, as President Trump aggressively intervenes, expanding attacks against leftist governments while backing a series of right-wing candidates in recent presidential elections, including in Colombia and Honduras. Meanwhile, Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum has also accused far-right sectors in the U.S. of coordinating with domestic groups to destabilize the Mexican government. For more, we go to 2 guests. In Lima, Peru, we're joined by Gustavo Guerra Garcia Picasso, a Peruvian economist and public policy expert who's held various high-level government and academic positions over the past 20 years. Here in New York, we're joined by Greg Grandin, Yale University history professor, Pulitzer Prize-winning author. His latest book, America America, A New History of the New World, now available in paperback. His new piece for the New York Review of Books is headlined The Education of Pope Leo XIV. We welcome you both to Democracy Now! Let's begin with Gustavo Guerra Garcia Picasso. Talk about what has happened and if you've been surprised by how close this runoff is and who Sanchez and Fujimori are.
Thanks for the invitation. I'm very glad to be here with your audience. Well, Keiko Fujimori, she's not leading the voting count. The last counting of votes that we have.
San Francisco won't absorb more billionaire politicians. Shoykot has good policy, but is helping to unseat Dean Preston was viewed as really undermining DSA-SF. Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, true. I agree with that. Like, here's the thing. The reason why I stayed out of that race as long as I did is because Dean Preston, right? Like that's why when Hassan was like, "Oh, I love Shoykot," and I was like, I think I talked to Hassan about Shoykot like months ago, and I was just like, I don't feel like he has a lot of local support. And then Connie decided to take all the centrist Zionist endorsements and then start attacking Hassan as being a racist with Fox News. And then I was like, all right, well, fuck Connie Chen, right? Like, it's the same thing with Tom Steyer. I'm not a Steyer head, but politically, it would be far better for California.
What we call the quick count of the
Lima is right-wing because people think they're upper class and white if they have running water at home. Seriously. Huge areas of the city have no basic services, so those with minimum living conditions start looking down on everyone else, even though they are also poor. It's really... false consciousness is fucking crazy. Like, the propaganda of whiteness is so insane. Like, so many people want to be white. Like, the way that whiteness has a lock on everybody's brain is fucking crazy, dude. It's so crazy how many people think they're fucking white. It's so crazy. Like, Gramsci's homegirl gave me a 50 bomb too. That was pretty sweet. I've worked in areas like Caraballo where nobody has a water connection. Most don't have electricity. They're the most densely populated areas of the city. I added white because a lot of limos will say the craziest racist comments about Serranos, indigenous Andeans, even though they look exactly the same as the people they hate. The actual whites normally have a liberal NGO paternalistic view of Andeans, a bit less racist. It's fucking crazy, man. It's fucking crazy. All right, chat. I wanna watch this this Hassan debate with Louis Goodall because I don't know how I missed this. I saw a clip, but I didn't think to watch it for some reason. British radio host. Nobody knows who fucking Louis Goodall is. And then Trump attacked Hassan. All of these things are happening. Have you taken blood pressure meds because he's going to piss you off? It's miserable. They cut up Hassan brutally and lowered his mic volume. Oh no.
Well, Hassan Parker, thank you so much for joining.
Please don't watch this garbage. That's how I know I have to watch it. That's how I know I have to watch it. Because you're that mad about it. It's so bad faith and dirty at every turn. This is what Zionists are like. What do you want me to do?
Us. We had booked this and hoped that it would be in person, but instead you're joining us, I think, from LA for reasons we can get into.
Like, it was so bad that Louis has been going around Twitter replies trying to defend it. Everybody... The thing about Hassan is that he's actually important. And I know that I'm going to get accused of being a glazer, but this is just Mike from PA's materialist analysis. There is nobody else on the left who has a group of daily organized people like Hassan. Literally no one. Literally no one. And so that's why, and it's the same reason like I defend him, it's because he's effective. And I'm not going to let people Graham Plattner Hassan. I'm not going to hang back and be like, oh, you know, I have my criticisms of Hassan. Because I'm not stupid. I understand why they're going after him. They're going after him because he's effective.
We will get into it in full, but it must have been a little bit of a curious week for you in terms of your relationship with the UK.
Yeah, I mean, I still got much love for the UK, and I feel bad for all of my friends out there fighting the good fight. But yeah, I was definitely not expecting the Labour government to be the government that bars my entry into the country, especially considering that I've been to the UK on numerous occasions, both under Keir Starmer's rule, but certainly under Tory leadership for the past decade or so, unimpeded. And I've delivered numerous speeches inside of the United Kingdom until this very last incursion, I guess.
But it's the case, isn't it, that you're still planning to, or the Oxford Union, which is one of the events that you were coming to address or coming to undertake, that's still going to go ahead?
Oxford Union actually defended both myself and Cenk Uygur, my uncle, and wanted to continue putting on the event as an act of defiance, I guess, in violation of the spirit of this travel ban.
So your understanding is that you are basically prohibited from coming to the UK for the foreseeable future? Have you actually had any communication from the Home Office?
No, the only communication I've gotten from the Home Office is the revocation of my ETA. And they told me that it's not something that I can oppose, and that if I would like to travel to the UK, I have to get a different visa, that I have to apply for like an actual visa. Given how close this was to the actual travel date, the suggestion was pretty clear. They just did not want me to attend the events that I was supposed to attend inside of the United Kingdom. Especially considering, from what I understand, that the visa process for all these other visas, which is totally unique for an American citizen, by the way, because our countries are supposed to have a special relationship, which implies that as an American citizen, visa-free travel was the norm into the UK for the longest time, and the visa on arrival is the way that things go nowadays. I had taken the precaution to get the ETA ahead of time just to make sure that there were no issues. And the fact that they revoked it so close to travel implies that they just wanted to not allow me in.
It's so bad faith that you should watch us watching it with him from video the other day to get the added context. You want to link that to me? I mean, I'm okay with watching it, but
and
why is the stock market crashing? Oh wait, hold on. When you say crashing, what do you mean? Greater than 1%? Greater than 2%? What is crashing to you? Okay, 2% is, I would say that's, I don't know if I'd call that a crash, but I would certainly say that's a strong dip. By the way, Bitcoin is falling off a fucking cliff. Everybody is selling their crypto to buy AI stocks, which makes a lot of sense. Bitcoin is fucking useless. AI stocks are actually, at least there's some theory of it like mattering in the future, right? Like, I'm sorry. I think buying, like, from my point of view, falling for the AI bubble makes a lot more sense than falling for the Bitcoin bubble. Like, there's nothing there. At least AI, they're like at least making promises, even if they're cockamamie and over exaggerated. Is oil actually dipping? Is this even true? Ship traffic through the Strait of Hormuz is rising very meaningfully. Is that even true? Or is it just lies? Some might be getting out due to tankers that have switched off their transponders. Some might. Is that actually happening? Or is this just blatant lying? Is Hasanabi Productions the AI channel? No.
It's kind of crazy. They just chopped my up so hard. Holy,
okay, this is probably better.
This is worse
it's not
than
that
I
much
expected.
Longer.
I'll be honest. What's crazy is it still didn't work. Ironically enough, the very fact that they tried to silence me in this way makes their position look
Hasanabi Productions is an old Hasanabi head who's actually cool as fuck.
Even worse. I did not film it on my end, but I doubt that they did like significant cuts to it. So here's how it started, and I'll begin with this. Okay, First off, here's what happened. Initially, the conversation was...
I don't even know why people say archives. Like, I'm not trying to defend archives, but like people say archives is a bot, but it's like the evidence that I've seen is that they originally posted videos from Vietnam. Now, I think it's all. I don't think you're automatically a bot if you're Vietnamese, right? Hassan himself says it is. I think the main reason people hate archive is didn't they like DMCA people? Like using Hassan's content, like that's the reason to hate them. That's worse than being a bot.
Was supposed to be the conversation was supposed to be about
this site is very, very charitable, and even they are saying only around 10 ships per day. I mean, they're saying 1.7 million. So 1.7 million transits versus what it used to be 10.3 million. So it's like 20% of the normal flow. 16.5%.
You know, my ban and how ridiculous it is. And like Louis Goodall obviously doesn't agree with Shabana Mahmood, right? Or at least we both thought so. But obviously he had some choice quotes that he wanted to bring up. And I was, of course, willing to entertain it. But slowly but surely, the conversation shifted around from, you know, I think that
Hassan is somebody said Hassan always getting I don't know what's going on with the Vietnamese Reddits, but there's a lot of anti-Hassan shit going down in there. Resurfaced clips of yelling at a reactionary Vietnamese refugee. Yeah, that I just don't have that edgy bone in my body where I think like a politician. I don't say shit. The only time I've ever said anything which was anti-political was when I was shitting on Kamala Harris. That is my bad takes. Those are my takes that are gonna haunt me. Was me going like fuck Kamala Harris and fuck Pete Buttigieg. Those are gonna be the ones that people use to try to, you know, the fact that I hate both of them so much is going to be used. That's the ones that people are gonna use against me, right? That I despise Kamala Harris and Pete Buttigieg. You think I'm wrong, but you don't know politics. Like that's the reality. What else was I saying? Oh, but Hassan says shit that I don't say. And one of them is like, I understand the id poll game. The id poll game is if you say like such and such group of people is X, no matter what the context is, it's going to be taken out of context to imply that you're a racist. There's no way, even if you're right and you're like, you know, right-wing Vietnamese refugees that are now MAGA are complete hypocrites and that's disgusting. If you say fuck this refugee, people are going to, you know, imply that you mean all Vietnamese refugees are bad. Like, it's It is what it is. Can you give us talking points about Buttigieg? I gotta be honest with you. I think if you like Pete Buttigieg, there's something wrong with you. Like legitimately, your soul is tainted. There's something wrong with you. I think your family might be demons from hell. I don't think they're actually real people. I think they might be like automatons wearing human skin. So why is Pete Buttigieg bad? Well, first of all, he's inhuman. And what I mean by that is when he was in his 20s and he was at Harvard, there was a protest by Harvard students to help increase the pay and benefits of the custodial staff. And Pete Buttigieg specifically talks about in his book stepping over the people that were protesting in favor of giving better pay and benefits to janitors on his way. And then he scoffs and he says, these people were protesting and I was going into a meeting with so-and-so important person. Pete Buttigieg was raised Catholic. In fact, his parents were both professors at Notre Dame, right? And he got, due to the fact that both of his parents were professors, he was good at school. Wow. Guys, having two parents doing your homework for you got you good grades. I can't believe it. What a meritocracy we live in. Okay, so his parents, highly accomplished professors at Notre Dame, managed to get him through all the money in the world being invested in his education. He got into an Ivy League school. Wow. And then eventually he got a Rhodes Scholarship, right? And while in the UK, he converted to Anglican. Now, his parents, Roman Catholics, Marxists, he converted to Anglican while in the United Kingdom. Why? He converted to Anglican because in the UK, the blue bloods, the upper crust, the like literal aristocracy, they discriminate against Catholics. Like it's 1597. And so in order to get in with the aristocracy of the United Kingdom, he converted to Anglican. And in fact, if you want to understand how there's anti-Catholic bias in the UK, which is very funny but true, Tony Blair secretly converted to Catholicism and didn't announce it till after he retired from politics. That's how much the anti-Catholic bias is in the United Kingdom, that a prime minister who wanted to be Catholic kept it secret. Now, all of this stuff is weird. It's all weird and inhuman, but it exposes something about him, which is that he is a founder. He is a narcissist. He has absolutely no interest except personal advancement. And so after he was done at Oxford, Rogue Scholar, what did he do with that? He could have had any job he wanted in the world. He could have gone and joined UNICEF and feed hungry children. He could have worked for the International Red Cross. He could have joined a corporation. Any company around the world, he could have applied and been a part of renewable energy technology or high-speed rail, or he could have joined a union as a high-level staffer for a national political organizing drive at UAW. He had any job he wanted in the entire fucking world. And he went and worked for McKinsey Consulting, which is probably one of the most evil companies in the entire world. When Dow Chemical wants to do something evil and they're a little bit squirrely, they hire McKinsey Consulting. When a company wants to lay off loyal employees, but the executives feel guilty, they hire McKinsey Consulting. When an insurance company wants to stop covering prenatal care, they hire McKinsey Consulting. McKinsey Consulting is for when capitalists feel queasy, their humanity is too much for them to make a decision that would be for the profit of the company. They hire McKinsey Consulting. That is, so when you go to be a McKinsey Consulting guy, if that's the job that you pick, it's legitimately an act of pure evil. It's like if the Antichrist was alive today, he's working for McKinsey Consulting. I am not kidding. Like it is, maybe Palantir now, but before, back in the day, it was McKinsey Consulting. So he goes to work for McKinsey Consulting. And what does he do? He works for a company that rigs bread prices in Canada. He works for an insurance company which does a massive layoff on his advice, a health insurance company in Michigan. And what was the other thing he did at McKinsey? He did something else at McKinsey that was really bad. I can't remember, but Basically, he just does nothing but pure fucking evil. All right. Then he moves back to his hometown and he runs for mayor. And while he's running for mayor, what does he do? He works with the literally racist white police officers who were trying to fire the black police chief and black firefighter captain. And they were recorded on department telephones saying how they were going to work with Pete Buttigieg to get rid of the N-word. All right? This was recorded on department phones. And so a tech who was reviewing the recordings came across these recordings of police officers saying this shit on the police department phones. And they took the recordings to the chief, right? So the chief listened to them. Do you know what Pete Buttigieg did? He worked with the FBI to get the police chief investigated for illegal wiretapping. He worked with the FBI to get that black police chief investigated by the FBI for illegal wiretapping. And then he fired the guy and he promoted the racist to be his police chief. This is literally true. And I'm just getting started, okay? I'm just getting started. I didn't even talk to you how he joined the reserves to go to Afghanistan. He joined the military to go to Afghanistan. I left that part out. While he was mayor of fucking South Bend, so that he would have I'm a veteran. So he joined the intelligence services to go to Afghanistan while he was mayor. While he was mayor, he joined the military to do a POG tour in Afghanistan, where he sat in the green zone looking at Afghanistan's resources. He even has a mineral map of Afghanistan on his wall in his house. In person, Buttigieg's style is amiable and controlled. He speaks like a newscaster in lucid paragraphs and has solid baritone and boxed in decorum. He seems to live with white shirts and pressed slacks. It's his dress even now around the house. He wears his hair in the same coif as Mike Pence, who was elected Indiana's governor the year he was awarded as mayor, showing me into a living room where books on display range from Thomas Piketty's Capital in the 21st Century to Peanuts, A Golden Celebration. He takes a seat in front of a huge resource and mineral map of Afghanistan. The home is one of the nicest in the city. It serves as a reminder of South Bend's distance from the coast. The mortgage payment, according to Buttigieg, is $450 a month. Must be nice. Must be nice. And I'm not even getting, it's like, hold on. Let me see if we can find that article. Pete Buttigieg fired black police officers story. Fuck, what was it called? There was an expose on it. Oh man, and it had this, like, I remember it because it had like this really nice cover image. Pete Buttigieg fired South Bend's black police chief. It still stings. Oh, is that right? It stings. It stings. Pete Buttigieg had been mayor just 13 weeks when he faced a leadership crisis. It was March 2012, and 300 residents of South Bend, Indiana, solemnly marched to Martin Luther King Center to protest the killing of a Florida black teenager, Trayvon Martin. A prominent figure at the demonstration was Daryl Boykins, South Bend's first black police chief, admired for teaching tennis and boxing to young people. He had been promoted to chief 5 years earlier after winning the respect of both black and white officers in a department that sometimes divided along racial lines. Mr. Buttigieg addressed the protesters, but seemed not to interact with Mr. Boykins. What no one on the crowd knew was that the police top brass were in turmoil, shaken by allegations that Mr. Boykins had improperly taped phone calls of senior white officers who were said to have used racist language, including about him. Oh, they used racist language, guys! They had used racist language. And he had improperly taped them, though. He improperly taped. Actually, what happened is that a tech had heard them and brought it to him, and he asked for more tapes. This isn't it. The article I'm thinking about had this huge cover image. I want to say it was like red with there was silhouettes. I don't remember what it was called, but it was a super deep dive. Fuck, I'd have to find it. I can't remember. Maybe I'm just inventing this. But so I want you to find out. I want you to imagine that you hear that senior police brass are calling the chief the N-word, and it's been recorded. And what you do is work with the FBI to get the black police chief fired because he refused to release the tapes and he destroyed them. At the time, Mr. Buttigieg said he removed his police chief because he had lost faith in him after discovering the FBI was investigating him for secretly taping officers' phone calls. The chief sued the city for racial discrimination over his firing and won $50,000 in 2013. 4 white officers sued the city for invasion of privacy and defamation and won a $500,000 payout the same year. So in other words, they fired the black police chief. He got $50,000. The 4 white officers got $500,000. Thanks, Pete. The demolition of repair of 1,000 houses. He bought a house and then destroyed 1,000 of them. What a good little supply destruction to raise your values. The fuck are you talking about? This is about Pete Buttigieg. People will never understand what I said. It's okay. I'm not going to get frustrated. We're just going to go back. Anyway, long story short, Pete Buttigieg is an evil bastard.
The Shabana Mahmood Home Office ban is ridiculous. To like, maybe I kind of agree with this ban.
How did Trump attack us on? Here, I'll show you.
I don't know if it's actually if it made the final cut, but I was like, Lewis, it kind of feels like you agree with the ban. But yeah, it wasn't supposed to. I don't think it was supposed to be contentious, but it turned contentious because I think Lewis wanted to defend, the feeling of people who are supportive to the state of Israel. So, we'll get started. I did not realize that until I saw the clips. I did not realize that they were like lowering my audio whenever he was talking over me. But let's take a look.
LA for reasons we can get into. Well, Hassan Piker, thank you so much for joining.
Attacking a gay man during Pride. One of the things that's really I got in trouble because, I'm the same age as Pete. And my sister came out to me in 2002, my little sister. So I'm the same age as Pete. And fighting for queer rights at that time was incredibly hard. There was a huge national movement led by people like Mike Pence to make gay marriage constitutionally illegal. They wanted to do a constitutional amendment to ban gay marriage. And so a lot of us were on the front lines of struggle for queer liberation. And we had been through some very dark times. So at that same time, Pete Buttigieg was living 100% publicly as a straight man. When he ran for office, he did so, I believe, as a straight man. Only after his time in the military, the other officers told him, bro, come out. Who cares? Like, what are you saying? That's insane. Only then, when in the company of conservative military officers, they're not known for being the most lefty-left people on the planet, did he come out after, I believe it was after the Supreme Court decision, wasn't it, on gay marriage? Like, it was super fucking late. Or it was like after Obama repealed Don't Ask, Don't Tell. Like, super fucking late, he came out, right? Like, I don't remember exactly the date. And I had said earlier that if you are somebody who's absent from the civil rights struggle that you personally are involved in, I don't think you should be a leader in politics in America on the left. I consider that to be outrageous. My family had to struggle while you were avoiding conflict to advance your own career. That is disqualifying for me. I don't think you should be a leader. People said I was being homophobic because I didn't know his struggle. His parents were Marxists. They were not homophobic conservatives. He wasn't closeted because he was raised in some sort of like reactionary household. He was in the closet so that he could advance his political career. In the moment when we were all struggling for liberation. That's fucking weird, man. I'm sorry. And if you're going to call me homophobic for that, so be it. Do you levy the same criticism against oil and gas workers and defense workers? Just try to understand when you criticize a citizen versus an individual in an exploitative society. What the fuck are you trying to say? You're asking me if guys who work dangerous oil jobs are the same as a guy who has the ability to get any job in the world with a rogue scholarship and he chooses the most evil company on the planet? And you're comparing that to roughnecks who fucking die from pumping oil? Are you stupid? About Pete's dad, he was a founding member and president of the International Gramsci Society, founded to facilitate communication among those who study Gramsci. Yeah, Pete's father was one of the most premier Gramscian scholars who is a Italian Marxist. Pete is literally a reptilian and an evil guy. And like, I'm sorry, but if you could hear what I just said about persecuting a black police chief and helping racist white cops get him fired, and you're okay with that, you're insane. Another thing that I got in trouble for was when Pete Buttigieg was asked if he could take a pill that would turn him not gay. He said he would take it. right in front of his husband. And I was like, what the fuck? So I mean, maybe I'm so left wing that I feel like that is so insane. And like that, to me, that's an insane thing to say. I think you should have called out the person who asked you that question and being like, what the fuck's wrong with you? How dare you ever ask that question to somebody about their most fundamental identity, you fucking freak? But he said, yeah, I'd take it. Like, what the fuck? My friend got set up on a blind date with Pete pre-Chasen, LOL. Like, and it's because I'm the same age as Pete, and it's because I literally did the exact opposite of Pete. That's why I really don't like him. Like, I had admission to West Point, Air Force Academy, all these other things. I could have lived that life that Pete lived, and I could have been evil, but I turned it down. And I took a harder life for my moral convictions. I stood against all the bad things that I thought were bad at the time that I thought they were bad immediately. I did not live I didn't, accept wealth and privilege. Like, and so that's why I look at Pete and I'm just so disgusted by him. He's a fucking evil little rat. Him before the left is homophobic. I don't think it's homophobic to point out that when the most important civil rights movement of his life was happening, he remained silent. That's just true. It's like when black people were fighting for civil rights laws and you didn't say anything or support it until after they won, that's a sign that you're not a leader. I'm sorry. You were a Rhodes Scholar? No. But I resigned. I resigned my commission because of the Iraq War. You were which, if you know what that means, it's fine. If you don't know what that means, it's fine. Buttigieg is not a good candidate for the Dems, not a progressive, and not worthy of trust. Oh, absolutely. The other thing is, and this is the point that really should nail it home. When he originally launched his campaign for president, he said he was Medicare for All supporter. And somebody asked him and replied on Twitter, if he people were asking him if he supported Medicare for All, and he was like, I support Medicare for All, and I always will for all time, now and forever. And he was really snarky about it. And then he started getting donations from health insurance millionaires and billionaires, and he dropped his Medicare for All support. So he was a snarky little asshole in Twitter replies when he was asked if he supported Medicare for All. And then he said he would always support it forever and always. And then he started getting money from the real estate lobby, or excuse me, the life insurance lobby and health insurance lobby, and he dropped Medicare for All. The guy is a fucking worm. It's an answer that shows internalized homophobia, shame, essentially. We're 100% right that he's no gay leader. He wants to be a leader, and he hopes people can look past his homosexuality. I mean, personally, I'm a left-winger, not a conservative, which is why I don't like Pete Buttigieg. Huh? Where/when have you ever heard me oppose Medicare for All? Mainstream media said Big Pharma's homie, Joe Kennedy, is the Democratic Party rising star. Now Political calls Pete Buttigieg the Dem savior. Not surprisingly, neither support Medicare for All. Establishment Dems would rather lose than listen to the American people. Huh? Where have you ever heard me oppose Medicare for All? Where's the post where he's like, I will forever and always support it? Does anyone have it? Like he literally said that. If somebody could find it. If you can see why a bunch of people found it and started replying in 2019, because he abandoned Medicare for All. I kind of get it because I'm a trans woman. Like, I literally would be so much easier to be a cis dude, but that would be dishonest. So I choose not to ignore this part of myself. I'm not saying that everybody has to live a certain type of way if they're gay. But what I am saying is, if you want to be a leader of the left, if you want to advance yourself as some sort of like somebody who should be the president with no fucking resume and no Senate primary exit poll from Waterville this morning. Yeah.
I'm not interested in the labels. I'm not interested in what Republicans are going to say. I'm interested in the style of politics that we need to put forward to actually, finally turn the page. In order to win, yes, but also in order to govern. This is a moment where the next president...
Here's the tweet. Gosh, okay, I, Pete Buttigieg, politician, do henceforth and forthwith declare most affirmatively and indubitably under the ages that I do favor Medicare for All as I do favor any measure that would help all Americans covered. Now, if you excuse me, potholes away. Condescending prick, and then he literally opposed Medicare for All.
President is going to face challenges, the likes of which we hadn't even thought of a few years.
I think liking Mayor Pete is a legitimate character flaw. I don't think I could date someone or have a close relationship with anybody who is a Pete Buttigieg fan. I think it is actually like one of those things where if you like this worm, I don't think I like you. Like I'm sorry, it's just true. Like he's literally everything wrong with America. Like everything wrong with corporate America.
Years or decades ago. And politically, we're facing a fundamentally new problem with President Donald Trump. So the biggest risk we could take at a time like this would be to go up against that fundamentally new challenge by trying to fall back on the familiar or trying to unite this country at a moment when we need that kind of unification, when our nominee is dividing people with a politics that says if you don't go all the way to the edge, it doesn't count. A politics that says it's my way or the highway.
Are you talking about Senator Sanders?
Yes, because we've got to bring as many people as we can into this process. Look, all of us have been saying that we can build the majority that it's going to take in order to win. But the process of actually proving it is now underway. And now it comes to New Hampshire, a state that thinks for itself, is not going to be told what to do by anyone, and that has a very independent streak, that is going to respond to those who are reaching out in a politics of addition and inclusion and belonging. Not one that beats people over the head and says they shouldn't even be on our side if we don't agree 100% of the time.
Senator Sanders, your response.
Needless to say, I've never said that, but let me tell you what I do say. The way you bring people together is by presenting an agenda that works for the working people of this country, not for the billionaire class. The way you bring people together, Republicans, independents, Democrats, progressives, conservatives.
Pete Buttigieg got more donations from billionaires than any other candidate, including Joe Biden. Like more billionaires supported Pete than anyone else. Sorry for going off track and talking about Pete Buttigieg for like 25 minutes, but I need you to understand that this guy is, you know, when people, honestly, I'm not the best person to talk about Pete because I dislike him so intensely that I don't think I would deregister as a Democrat if he was the nominee. Like I would end all entryism at, like I would say that dirty break now. Like I would immediately work to demolish the Democratic Party. I would like be planting metaphorical dynamite around the supporting columns. Like I think Pete Buttigieg is a sign of human extinction. And I don't think he would just lose. I think he would actually fail to win California. Like I think a lot of like, if you're an upper middle class corporate drone, maybe he's the guy, he's the intern at the water cooler. But like for regular human beings, he looks like he's wearing a skin suit. He is the least authentic person I've ever seen. And the American people want change. He is the ultimate representation of the elite status quo. Up until the point where, like, I don't think that he would win New Jersey. I don't think he'd win New York. I don't think he'd win California. I think we would be looking at an American country with Republicans having the ability to rewrite the Constitution.
Yes, we had booked this and hoped that it would be in person.
I think the in-person conversation would have been really good, though.
But instead, you're joining us, I think, from LA for reasons we can get into. We will get into it in full, but it must have been a little bit of a curious week for you in terms of your relationship with the UK.
Yeah, I mean, I still got much love for the UK, and I feel bad for all of my friends out there fighting the good fight. But yeah, I was definitely not expecting the Labour government to be the government that bars my entry into the country, especially considering that I've been to the UK on numerous occasions, both under Keir Starmer's rule, but certainly under Tory leadership for the past decade or so, unimpeded. And I've delivered numerous speeches inside of the United Kingdom until this very last incursion, I guess.
But it's the case, isn't it, that you're still planning to, or the Oxford Union, which is one of the events that you were coming to address or coming to undertake, that's still going to go ahead?
Oxford Union actually defended both myself and Cenk Uygur, my uncle, and wanted to continue putting on the event as an act of defiance, I guess, in violation of the spirit of this travel ban.
So your understanding is that you are basically prohibited from coming to the UK for the foreseeable future? Have you actually had any communication from the Home Office?
No, the only communication I've gotten from the Home Office is the revocation of my ETA. And they told me that it's not something that I can oppose, and that if I would like to travel to the UK, I have to get a different visa, that I have to apply for like an actual visa. Given how close this was to the actual travel date, the suggestion was pretty clear. They just did not want me to attend the events that I was supposed to attend inside of the United Kingdom. Especially considering, from what I understand, that the visa process for all these other visas, which is totally unique for an American citizen, by the way, because our countries are supposed to have a special relationship, which implies that as an American citizen, visa-free travel was the norm into the UK for the longest time, and the visa on arrival is the way that things go nowadays. I had taken the precaution to get the ETA ahead of time, just to make sure that there were no issues. And the fact that they revoked it so close to travel implies that they just wanted to not allow me in. And also, they told me I can still apply for a different type of visa, but no guarantees there.
We'll return to that because I want to talk a bit more broadly about politics, but about American politics and UK politics as well, because you've got a lot of insight and a lot of interesting things to say.
I got sidetracked for Trump's attacking Assad. Oh, yeah, sorry about
on
that.
it, though. Actually, funnily enough, even though your prohibition into the UK has received a lot of attention here, in terms of kind of the question of border.
If you're going to say you choose Hamas over Israel, you're going to own that man and not back down over precise the hell out of it. Yeah, nephew, I don't know about this one, but it's not a good look. Do you have are your mental faculties in order? Or do you have like, did you stroke out like halfway through the conversation? You do realize this is a 50-minute back and forth where I'm doing exactly that. That's literally what I'm doing. And no, this is not conservative. He's a liberal.
And of people getting into one country or another. In the UK at the moment, a lot of the discourse, I think in a lot of European politics as well, is the idea of actually with the World Cup coming up, that lots and lots of Brits or Europeans, particularly those who might have said critical things about the Trump administration, might not be allowed into the US. Now, as a journalist who regularly goes into the US and has had a few things to say in my time about the Trump administration, I have to say I've never encountered this myself, but this is a sort of peculiar time, isn't it, when we've got European countries and American countries, you know, two very close sets of allies.
We're down 3.17 on the NASDAQ 100. Oh, shit. It actually is kind of crashing, huh?
Across two continents, talking about whether or not we're going to let our citizens mutually in to each other's territories.
Yeah, it's absolute bedlam. There is no more coalition, or rather, the coalition of forces that are taking shape right now are some of the most dangerous and most odious types of politics that I've ever experienced in my lifetime.
All right, chat. The Hasanabi attack from the White House. Publishing leftist influencers. Media offenders. Leftist influencers. The offense. White House, while President Donald J. Trump was in the Oval Office and Situation Room commanding one of the most daring, complex military research and rescue missions in modern history, the rescue of 2 airmen from deep inside hostile Iranian territory, deranged leftists and fake news media were spreading vicious, fabricated conspiracy theories about a non-existent health crisis at the White House. The truth. Fueled by unhinged fringe accounts on social media garnering millions of views, collapsing liberal media outlets turned internet gossip into front page news, dishonestly framing it as a full-blown scandal and completely ignoring President Trump's ironclad leadership and the triumphant success of our troops. Picking up pilots who got shot down is a triumphant success? That's a minimization of failure. What are you saying? Key points. The left spread false rumors that President Trump was in a hospital while, in fact, he was hard at work for the American people. All right. Can I just point out that this was probably partially written by people and partially written by AI? The reason why is in this bracket, they use an M dash for a clause, right? But later they use commas. Why not M dash again? And why not use commas instead of M dash up here? Anyway, style change. What was I saying? Oh yeah. Leftist. So that was David Pakman and Ed Krasenstein. Then there's Brian Tyler Cohen. Wait, where's the Hassan Piker? I thought they did Hassan Piker. Did they delete it? Wait, where's the Hassan Piker? Oh man, did they delete it? Oh, maybe this is the wrong. Hey, scroll down to where? Oh God. Like they had a Hassan Piker. Okay, here we go. Thank you. It's under left-wing lunacy, not leftist influencers. Oh, thank you. Thank you, chat. I know they misspelled Hassan. There it is. Hassan Piker lamenting misspelling Hassan. Why do they misspell Hassan? Lamenting that President Trump is alive and remarking that it would be pretty funny if he died. The offense, the fake news and unhinged sick Democrats have spent, now we're having parentheticals, have spent years peddling reckless, inflammatory, and escalating rhetoric about President Trump, his administration, and tens of millions of Americans, smearing them as fascist, Nazis, and threats. The truth, the toxic environment has been repeatedly incited their supporters to violence, most recently at the White House Correspondents' Dinner, while another radical left lunatic attempted to assassinate President Trump in the third such attack in under 2 years. Examples of degenerate fake news figureheads spewing such disgusting rhetoric include Jimmy Kimmel stating just days before Saturday's assassination attempt that First Lady Melania Trump had a glow like an expectant widow. Stephen Colbert claiming Donald Trump is a fascist. I'm sorry, this is bad. That's bars. That's fucking bars. Glow like expected widow. Like, come on. That's fucking bars. That's actually good. Stephen Colbert claiming Donald Trump is a fascist. How is that disgusting rhetoric? That's totally normal rhetoric. Like, what do you mean? Rachel Maddow calling President Trump an authoritarian leader attempting to overthrow the U.S. government. James Carville suggesting President Trump would institute a fascist regime. Hassan Piker lamenting that President Trump is alive and remarking that it would be pretty funny if he died. Joe Scarborough claiming that President Trump has gone full-on Hitler. Jonathan Chait stating that President Trump is a threat to democracy and saying so is not incitement. Lemon declaring that the GOP, they don't even have a first name anymore. Lemon declaring the GOP needs to burn to the ground and that President Trump is a racist. Joy Reid, forget Trumpism, it's neo-fascism. Joy Reid stated that under President Trump, fascism is already here. And Rick Wilson stated the donor class must go out and put a bullet in Donald Trump. Putting a quote around 2 words. I think for me, I'll be completely honest with you, chat. We talk a little bit about the concepts of like norms in society. So like norms and expectations and beliefs. Like, what do we say? What do we mean when we say that? Like part of having a democratic political character is a fundamental respect of the rights of individuals, right? And when the authority of the state is being deployed against people because they express a view that the government doesn't like, that is fundamentally a violation of the norms required for democratic society, right? Like, and, you know, I am not a liberal. I am simply somebody who desires to see humanity advance beyond the current paradigm, right? Like that is my ultimate goal. And so in order to have that position, I have examined and read and studied what led to the status quo and what is the supposed ideology of the status quo. And what Donald Trump represents and what the Zionist allies of Donald Trump represent is a fundamental retrenchment back away from the fundamental norms of free speech. Hassan Piker is not quoted in this, but he is being targeted by the White House as being responsible with no evidence whatsoever to actual assassination attempts. This is an attempt by the White House to commit terrorism, is to incite violence against the people in this list. They understand that some percentage of Donald Trump's supporters are mentally unwell. This is stochastic terrorism. This is a incitement for stochastic terrorism. And ultimately, how do we defeat this kind of political movement? It's going to require us to act in a way that and walk the path that they've blazed. And that is, we are going to have to do turnabout. Turnabout is fair play. Not in the sense of calling for stochastic terrorism, but rather we have to punish through properly constituted courts and trials the offenses of everybody involved with the Trump White House. There needs to be a thoroughgoing corruption purge that may result in literally thousands of people being prosecuted. And that's just to restore the kind of democratic norms that we have already lost, let alone advance.
You have the MAGA movement, which by my estimation, is almost turning into this behemoth of an international fascist movement, really, that has close associations with both reform in your country and also Restore Britain as well. And there's this weird allegiance where we're becoming more toxic against one another, and the age of international rule-based order is seemingly being cast aside. I find it to be very dangerous. I find it to be very worrisome. I don't think it's just about being able to enter the United States to go watch your favorite football team defeat the Americans or whatever. There are far greater consequences, I think, later down the line. But it has been interesting to see the universal condemnation of this act from places that I never thought would actually defend me. Pro-Israel outlets such as the Free Press or even The Economist and the Washington Post editorial board have all collectively panned the British government's decisions. But then there's also a lot of right-wingers who actually celebrated it, and I find that very odd as well, because they're probably coming to the United States of America to watch their national teams play, and what if their travel is impeded in the same process?
It's interesting, just to take you back to that phrase you just used. You think that there is an international fascistic organization that's forming, and you would.
He said, "I looked awkward during this, but then also, dude, your autism is not my fault, okay? You feel uncomfortable watching it, and you're like, oh, dude, it's just not good. It's not a good look. Meanwhile, listen to the words that are coming out of my goddamn mouth and the points that I'm making, the points that I'm addressing in a contentious environment. I think, all things considered, it was a very good conversation. But I also find it very funny that you personally were like, damn, man, chat really derails quite a bit. And now you're doing the same goddamn thing.
Allied the MAGA movement and reform and restore. And restore is an interesting one because, of course, I think a lot of listeners and viewers to this show might be surprised that restore is even known in the United States. Surprised it's even known across the UK. But I was in CPAC in Dallas not long ago, and actually I was taken aback, actually stunned, by the number of people who knew who Restore were, who knew who Rupert Lowe, the MP for Great Yarmouth, who on paper would be quite an obscure figure in
the answer is because there's a fascist international, you bumbling doofus, and it's been obvious for a literal decade. It's been obvious for before Donald Trump's first administration, you fucking idiot. How the fuck are you surprised by this? Again, it's because these journalists don't do their fucking jobs.
United States, but actually no, he's very well known.
Yeah, and a part of the reason is because I think we live in the age of the internet, and like I said, there is an international component amongst far-right elements in European society, certainly, or even South Korean society, as a matter of fact. I mean, Charlie Kirk, before he was assassinated, had traveled to Japan and South Korea and through these massive events with the South Korean far right, and they were all wearing MAGA hats. I find that both fascinating and also terrifying at the same time, that there is this amalgamation of right-wing forces that are not necessarily adjusted to their own local considerations and their own local problems, but instead they get their notes from MAGA and they wear MAGA merch, which I find very strange. I feel like it's not even a principled version of nationalism that you would expect from these old school fascists. It's very interesting to observe.
What do you make of, as someone who is probably...
Lewis hits a lot of question points that are usually deployed to make lefties look crazy in the media, and you answer them all very calmly and thoughtfully. It left him looking unserious, which is the opposite of this particular journalist's whole shtick. Yeah, no, I know what kind of debate this is. Lewis himself is like supposedly somewhat of a progressive figure, or at least like seemingly a progressive figure. And the conversation wasn't even supposed to, I don't think, be a debate initially, but then it turns into one. It turns into a contentious one because he's like peppering in some choice quotes to be like, well, you shouldn't be saying that, right? You shouldn't be saying that, right? And obviously I'm not going to back down from that. Obviously I'm not going to back down from some of the principled stances that I've taken because, I'm not going to sit there and create some kind of moral parity between Israel and Palestinians, including the Palestinian resistance, because there is none. Let's be real. And he doesn't believe there is one either, ironically enough. He believes that like Israel's reaction to October 7 is far more valid than the 75 years of apartheid occupation and denial of sovereignty of the Palestinians creates any environment where something like October 7 could happen. And that's, again, the main point of contention here. It's like you can't have one and not the other. If we're going to be consistent about like targeting civilians, then we should be consistent about targeting civilians. I don't believe in targeting civilians. Having said that, if we're going to talk about who is targeting more civilians, I mean, there's no conversation there. That's where the Hamas is 1,000 times better than Israel point comes from. I saw certain people celebrating how this exposes Assange's anti-Semitism. Yeah, you just don't. Reality of the matter is you don't see Palestinians as human beings. You see Jewish people as human beings. You see Israelis as human beings, but not Palestinians in general.
Been thinking about British politics a little bit more than you might have otherwise been. When you see where we are in British politics, you see Nigel Farage, you talk about Rupert Lowe and Restore. What do you make of where British politics is at the moment, and particularly in relation to US politics? Do you see US politics
Utter devastation.
Devastation. Why do you think devastation?
Utter devastation. One of the early warnings that, I mean, it's not a secret that I was a big fan and big supporter of Jeremy Corbyn. Indeed. And still am now a friend to Jeremy Corbyn as well. Honored to know him.
And he's offended you this week.
Yeah, he has, and so has Zach Polanski. I've collaborated with Zach as well at times. So what I will say is, since the Corbyn ouster, it was very clear that Labour was headed down a very dangerous path, going back to Blairite versions of the party, if not far worse, right-wing element in the party, overtaking the entirety of Labour. And one of the warnings that I delivered on the night of the election, after Keir Starmer won, with less votes than Jeremy Corbyn had, ironically enough, was that if the Labour government continues down the line of austerity and refuses to address some of the economic hardships that people are experiencing, that has caused a lot of the former Labour strongholds to turn into areas captive by reform, and first the Tories and now even reform, I was worried that far-right elements were going to overtake British politics, and they certainly did. As a matter of fact, the Green Party's surge has only been the last saving grace of British politics to a certain degree, considering that I think in the absence of this Green Party resurgence, Labour would be eviscerated, and then you would have an eclectic group of, I guess, independent MPs and maybe your party as well, to a certain degree. I chat with him every now and then.
He's, particularly in the last couple of weeks, I mean, he's receiving, as you might imagine, ferocious media attack. And a lot of the newspapers are coming for him in a very big way, and they found some things that are embarrassing to hear.
Wow, I can't believe the newspapers are all working, colluding to attack an anti-Zionist. Oh my God, I can't believe they're attacking an anti-Zionist Jewish politician as being anti-Semitic in the U. Oh my God, this is so surprising.
And so on, some of which he's acknowledged. What would you say to him as someone who has been very, very successful in corralling the power of digital media on the left? What would you say to him about how to deal with the traditional media?
Be bold, be brave. Don't be afraid to be contentious at times. Stay on message always. I think one of the things that Zoran Mamdani, the mayor of New York City, did so expertly in spite of the barrage of attacks and heinous smears that he was receiving, not dissimilar to what Zach Polanski is currently going through, was he would always play this intellectual judo where he would consistently reframe the conversation back to, and dare I say expertly, back to a key policy of his platform. I think this was a major issue with Jeremy Corbyn. The anti-Semitism smears were unfounded and totally ridiculous. However, it wasn't necessarily the idea that the broader British public found Jeremy Corbyn's politics to be odious and that he was a sincere anti-Semite. There was a little bit of hysteria there for sure, but it was the fact that he constantly found himself addressing these accusations, because we have a finite amount of time on every broadcast, especially when a politician is running for office. And if you utilize that time consistently on the defense, consistently having to answer accusations that people have made about you without actually addressing what your platform is, or even why people might be very upset at you, because oftentimes it's not the smear itself that is valid, then people are only going to remember you as an unserious person that is constantly in controversy.
Is that completely fair, Hassan Pak? I mean, remember that the Equality and Human Rights Commission in this country conducted an investigation into anti-Semitism into the Labour Party, and it concluded that Jeremy Corbyn, when he had led it, had committed unlawful acts related to anti-Semitism. Key findings included Labour was responsible for unlawful harassment, discrimination, there were serious failings of leadership, and inadequate process for handling anti-Semitism complaints. Two things can be true at once. It can be true to say that people who perhaps had ulterior motives decided that they wanted to use some of this to try and undermine Jeremy.
I think the Corbyn smear, the Corbyn is an anti-Semite smear in the big 226 is crazy.
What do you mean? He's an Israeli agent. They successfully managed to see. The thing is, like, the Israel lobby did their anti-Semite smears, and it worked before October 7th, right? Before the genocide happened, most people were not aware of what Israel is. But now that everybody sees it, it doesn't work anymore. And I gotta tell you, like, you know, all the lefty people that I'm working with, they're soft on Israel. Bad Empanada is soft on Israel. If you put me in a position of power, what the policies that I would have, they would be a lot harsher on Israel than anything Bad Empanada has ever said.
That's when I was like, wait, what? This guy, I don't know if this is like sunk costs for a lot of these guys.
Oh my God. I wanted to watch this debate because it would make a good YouTube video, but honestly, chat, I don't have it in me. I want to talk about the news. As much as I want to milk Hassan and make a fucking video after this, I just can't. I'm bored out of my fucking mind. Can I be honest with you guys? Like, I'm bored out of my fucking mind. I'd rather talk about the news. Like, legitimately. If you guys want to give me a bunch of, like, shorts so I could do, like, a 15-minute video to milk Hassan on YouTube, that would be great. But it's just too boring. It's too boring to me. Am I wrong? Am I crazy? Like, I think Hassan did a good job, but, like, this happened because stocks are now crashing. Stocks crash as Trump announces new attacks on Iran. I have just been informed by our great military that last night Iranians shot down one of our highly sophisticated Apache helicopters while patrolling over the Strait of Hormuz. There were 2 pilots involved. Both are safe and uninjured. Nevertheless, the United States must, of necessity, respond to this attack. Thank you for your attention to this matter, President Donald J. Trump. Stonks. NASDAQ's down 870 points today. We've got S&P 500 down 2%, and the Dow is down 1%. Meanwhile, oil prices are going down. Nothing happened. Absolutely nothing happened in the Strait. It's the same as it's been for weeks. Maybe 10% of the traffic. Ethanol and fuel is true. They increased the amount of ethanol in the fuel, which means you're going to get less miles to the gallon. Energy Secretary Wright says traffic in Strait of Hormuz is rising very meaningfully. This is just pure fake news. This is absolute bullshit. There has been absolutely no new traffic in the Strait of Hormuz. We're having a little bit of a haircut today, giving up some of the gains as an Apache helicopter shot down. We're learning more as this. We're learning. This is breaking news. All right. Okay. Here we go.
Just in, new reports that the U.S. military says it is investigating whether Iran is responsible for a U.S. Apache helicopter that went down near the Strait of Hormuz. This brand new reporting from Barak Reed of Axios also says that there was a dramatic hours-long search before the crew was found and rescued from the water. Also, Israel's military today launched new attacks in southern Lebanon. Both Iran and President Trump have warned Israel against continuing the offensive there. Let's get right to CNN's Elena Treen at the White House for the latest on all of this. Good morning, Elena.
Good morning, John. Yeah, I'm going to start with what we know about this Apache helicopter. There was a statement out from CENTCOM this morning saying that at 7:33 p.m. yesterday on June 8th, 2 crew members from that U.S. Army, it was an AH-64 Apache, were rescued by American forces after their helicopter went down near the coast of Oman. CENTCOM says that they were patrolling regional waters and that the soldiers were safely rescued within, they said, approximately 2 hours and are now in stable condition. We heard the president, who was taking questions from reporters about this early this morning, said that none of them were injured and that they are doing fine. I think this line from this CENTCOM statement is important. They say that the cause of the incident is under investigation. We're still learning, of course, what exactly happened here. But to give you a sense, I mean,
they got shot down by Iranian indigenous technology. That's what happened. Donald Trump was just like, we destroyed their anti-air capability. Like, he just said that yesterday.
One, the loss of this aircraft marks the first loss of an Apache since this war began. And
because they're not using Apaches on Iranian soil because they would get fucking shot down like crazy. Like, obviously, they're using the most expensive standoff munitions designed to fight a near-peer adversary. Like, one of the things is, like, Americans don't realize just how much money we're wasting on this war. Like, we are wasting some incredibly expensive munitions. I'm talking about millions of dollars a shot type weapons. It's actually embarrassing how we're treating Iran like we're fighting China. Like, that's the level of weapons we're using.
That these helicopters have been previously used to attack Iranian small boats in the Strait of Hormuz. Apaches, primarily used for precision strikes, close air support and air reconnaissance. So we're still learning to get more about what exactly happened and how this helicopter was downed.
President Trump confirming the pilots on board that U.S. Army Apache helicopter were not injured following reports that the chopper went down near the Strait of Hormuz. Take a listen.
That an Army helicopter went down in the Strait. Can you give us an update on that? Are the soldiers okay?
The pilots are fine, yeah.
And
nobody injured.
Barak Ravid from Axios reports that officials are investigating whether Iran is responsible for shooting it down. With us now is CNN national security analyst, former deputy director of national intelligence, Beth Sander. This is what the Apache looks like. Hours-long rescue from the water. The 2 crew members plucked out. That's according to Barak Ravid. Does it feel like the type of thing, or what kind of risk should I say? Because we don't know whether the Iranians shot it down, but what kind of risks are these missions as they continue, even in this, in inverted commas and quotes, ceasefire period?
Well, absolutely. Every kind of combat area has risks, John, and it is just a matter of time before things happen, whether it's a shoot down or just something happens, right? I mean, you just have a lot of people in the air, in the water.
I do think, like, we have an Iranian national security analyst. I can't help but notice what appears to me to be stuff from Latin America. Is she a CIA agent? Beth Sander is a former American government official, having served as the Deputy Director of National Intelligence for Mission Integration. Here's the thing. If you ever meet somebody like this, man, I wish I had free speech. Maybe if I found like a Chinese official who had the exact same job, I would be able to have free speech. Do you think I would be able to like bring up a photo of like the Chinese version of this and then have free speech? Like, oh, chat, look, Vio has brought me more French toast. Thank you, Vio. Like, do you think I could? I brought up like a Chinese official. If I brought up a Chinese official and I was like, if you ever had the opportunity to, never mind. Okay. Sander is a distinguished graduate of the National War College, earning a Master of Science in National Security Strategy. She has a BA in Economics and International Affairs for the American University. Oh, look, it's Kat Abu-Ghazaleh. Sander held several senior media leadership positions in the CIA Directorate of Analysis, including leading the analytic effort on South Asia and serving as the Deputy for Analysis for Russian and European Affairs. She also had analytic leadership roles for the Balkans, Central Europe, Southeast Asia. Sander was the director of the Career Analyst Program for the training program for all new CIA analysts. DNI Tulsi Gabbard revoked her national security clearance. When you like legitimately one of the most evil people probably on the planet today. Like, she's so evil that I feel nervous about even bringing her on the screen, like, because she is that fucking evil. She would kill you and your entire family, and it wouldn't even, like, register to her as an event. Like, I want you to understand, like, not, like, you probably would consider swatting a fly to be more morally significant than what she would do to your entire family. She would cut off the head of your like little cousin if she thought it might advance her career even one whisker. So take that in consideration as you're listening.
Water, and it's just kind of a numbers game. One of the interesting
things, she's not a dog of empire. She's the type of person who looks at other CIA agents and says, "You're not evil. You're not doing enough evil." She's the type of person who, like, I don't think you get it. This is probably a victim of hers. This picture. This is probably some relative of a fucking like Latin American, indigenous rights activist who she had shot. Like, Slotkin is not on her level. Abigail Spanberger is not on her level. They were probably trained by her. I don't think you guys are really getting what I'm saying.
from this are the reports that they were rescued by an unmanned underwater vehicle. And if true, this is really interesting, and it just shows how war is changing. This is now happening routinely in Ukraine, where these unmanned vehicles are wheeling people out or, you know, dropping in supplies or whatever. The world is changing dramatically, and it makes people more safe. But, you know, I think that this entire situation, John, right now it's just very, very unstable. And the risk of flare-ups and more down.
She's the blonde character from Andor? No. She's the blonde character's boss at Andor. And you're kind of getting it now. She's not Krennic. She's the guy who's like in charge of the whole thing. She's like one of the guys. Like, did you not hear what I was saying? Hold on, I'll bring it back up. National Intelligence for Mission Integration. Okay, how do I explain this? Mission integration is like, okay, I'm going to connect the CIA's death squad with SEAL Team 6 so that we can draw up a list of people that we need to kill. And then she went out and made sure that she like looked at the pictures of the bodies and said, you know, like this, like I want to see if I can, let me see if I can pull up a description of this job. Mission integration creates a consistent and holistic view of intelligence from collection to analysis and serves as the DNI's principal advisor on all aspects of intelligence. MI integrates mission capabilities, informs enterprise resource and policy decisions, and ensures delivery of timely, objective, accurate, and relevant intelligence. AKA, they know everything and they decide how to kill people to get whatever goal they have. This person is like, if the word evil has any meaning, that's what she is. Did I close the thing? Did I close her video? Where did it go? I'm so confused. What did I do? God, I have so many Pete Buttigieg tabs. Informing voters of sexual assault rumors. There are no rumors. They're just blatantly lies. They're just blatant lies. Blatant lies. I was literally watching a video on CNN about that. About the Apache thing. And then I accidentally clicked off. Because I got off track about who they had on screen, and I was explaining how she's like one of the most evil human beings to ever live.
Downings is just high.
When we got word overnight that a U.S. Apache helicopter went down somewhere in the Strait of Hormuz off the coast of Oman, we don't know the exact location, nor do we know the cause of what brought this helicopter down. We do know the two people inside, the pilots and the passengers, everyone's doing okay. This is what the Apache looks like. When you hear that, what are the range of possibilities for what might have happened?
It could be mechanical, of course.
Krennic is like CIA director chat.
Could be enemy action.
He's like even higher than her.
Could have gotten in some kind of a drone in close to it. Thirdly, it could be pilot error. Those are the three key ones that you think about. I think just stepping back, John, we ought to kind of reflect on the fact that we've now had 50,000, 60,000 U.S. servicemen and women forward deployed for months and months. And, you know, we were just talking about draining the strategic petroleum reserve. We are draining military readiness by keeping all these people on station for this length of time. Now, this is the Department of Defense, a highly capable organization, but not inexhaustible. So it's a good wake up when something like this happens, how perilous this is for our troops and how this could, without question, become longer and longer if we don't get to a deal.
Well, it already has become longer and longer, and I think that's such an important point that you're making here, because this is the risk of an extended deployment, maybe indefinite deployment, one or the other. And one thing I want to point out is the president says overnight that this whole thing could come to an end in the next 2 or 3 days. There could be a permanent deal in the next 2 to 3 days. He has said some version of that. CNN has counted, I'm going to write this, 37 times in the last 78 days. So 37 times over the last 78 days, it's either been a few days away, a week away, or just around the corner. You get the sense that this could possibly just linger. And what happens if it does, Admiral?
Then we are right back to potentially years of keeping forces forward deployed at scale. And I think the country doesn't want that at any level. because of the 20 years of the forever wars that my generation and more importantly, the younger generation, the millennials particularly, carried immense burdens on the front lines of. So I think President Trump feels the pressure to get to the table. And that, John, brings us to, do Iran and Israel feel that same level of pressure? And I think at the moment, the Iranians are leaning backward.
That's my question. I mean, how can the Iranians handle sort of an indefinite status quo?
They also feel a clock ticking. There are really two clocks running here, one over President Trump, who's the central decision maker, but the second clock is running over the Iranians because of the damage to their economy. It's a tale of two blockades. The one we focus on is the blockade of the Strait. The entire Iranian coastline, 1,000 miles, is similarly blockaded at the moment, inflicting significant damage over time on the Iranians. Final thought, John, I'll tell you what I'm also watching that we don't talk about enough is not the Strait of Hormuz, it's the Red Sea and the Suez Canal. The Houthis are still in business down there on the bottom left-hand corner of the Arabian Peninsula, the Western Front, if you will, exactly where you focus it. They launched a couple of missiles over the last few days just to remind us they could shut down another very important waterway. So President Trump has a complex game of chess he's playing here.
Admiral James Stavridis, great to see you this morning. Thank you so much.
I'm wondering if you could just listen to President Trump and what he said on late Monday as he left New York City. He was asked about possible sticking points in these negotiations with.
Like, the American empire is like profoundly incompetent. Like, profoundly fucking incompetent. Here we can't control like the straits. You know, the Brits, they at least got, they still have Gibraltar. You know, like, the Brits at least were competent enough to be, you know, the blatant imperialists that they are. And the United States of America is like pouring in infinite money into our version of the Crusader states. It's like we're the Holy Roman Empire, and you know, and it's the same exact shit. And it's going to end up in the same exact way. Barack Ravid says, a U.S. official told me the investigation determined that an Iranian drone hit the U.S. helicopter and got it to crash. They used a drone interceptor on a helicopter? Bro, the war is, oh my God, dude. American military might is being exposed.
I don't think there are any sticking points. We're very close to having a very, very good, strong, powerful deal.
No sticking points, a positive outlook, but then listen to a portion of CNN's Fred Pleiton's interview with the top Iranian official who was basically asked the same question, and here's what that official said.
What are the biggest sticking points now in the negotiations?
We do not see a serious will to reach a framework that could actually be implemented. And I think with regard to Iran's blocked assets, this is in fact a very clear and prominent example of that. As for uranium, enriched materials, enrichment itself, and nuclear issues, we are not currently negotiating on those matters.
Of course, Fred and his team operating in Iran only with the permission of the government, but does maintain full editorial control of its reports. Putting all this together now, Fawaz, I'm wondering if I can get your take on this. What is your assessment of what is holding up a deal from being finalized? I mean, yet again, two very different narratives.
Well, I think the Iranian narrative has been very consistent. So this is, we know there is a clarity on what Iran wants. Iran wants that the United States releases its frozen assets, which is about $24 billion. At least they want $15 billion released, which are in Qatar. Secondly, Iran wants a lasting end to the war as opposed to a limited ceasefire. They want international guarantees, basically either from China or Russia or a Security Council resolution. And they also some management, a form of management of the Strait of Hormuz, whether you're talking about fees or tolls. And they want also an end to the war, not just between the United States and Israel on the one hand and Iran, but also Lebanon. They want an end to the Israel's war in Lebanon. So all in all, in fact, there has really been no major progress in the past few weeks, because as your correspondent's interview with the Iranian official. Iran does not trust President Trump. And that's why they want operational, they want to verify. And that's why, despite President Trump's repeated positive statements, this tells you a great deal more about President Trump. He is desperate to find an off-ramp. He wants out. He is in a terrible strategic bind, especially given the inflation, the gas prices in the United States, and the pain in the world economy.
I think the main point that I would make about this stuff in general is we're living in a world of complete weird delusion being held up by Chinese stability. Like, that is the reality. More Perfect Unit took AOC to red states to talk with voters. Oh. Let's do a hog watch. Official hog watch. AOC with red state voters. Trump says they will respond to the helicopter. Yeah, we read that. We saw it right when it posted. Trump says U.S. must respond. So basically, he's been roped into the war by Benjamin Netanyahu. This war is not going to end until the stock market crashes. Until oil hits 160 a barrel and the stock market crashes, and people are paying $7 or $8 a gallon or $9 a gallon. That's the only way it's going to end. If we continue on where people could just keep, as long as it can keep kind of chugging along, $90 barrel oil is not too expensive for the economy to keep going. So if that's where the prices settle at, then it is what it is. Like, there's no reason for Donald Trump to stop. I mean, oil prices are dipping, and they're dipping because a member of the Trump administration said the Strait of Hormuz, the oil is flowing, and it's not. It's at the same level it's been for weeks. There is no oil. There is a very, very slow flow of maybe 10 to 15% of what it was before the war. It's just not true. The engine in my car just blew, probably because you got 15% ethanol fuel.
When the blasting started, it went on a couple of months. My sister...
I need to like rein myself in. I don't want to offend my Southern viewers. I'm locking in. I don't want to offend my Southern viewers.
When the blasting started, it went on a couple of months. My sister-in-law's ceiling come crashing down.
Nobody from Amazon has bothered to say one word. It was 3 blasts a day, 7 days a week for months.
This is unbelievable.
That's
what
terrible.
happens when you take Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez to the heart of the data center revolt?
And they're just trying to say that no one should cover this?
Yeah. And I'm sorry, but I'm on a Social Security check. I can't afford to do that.
You didn't blow up your ceiling.
No, I didn't.
We wanted to know how voters who feel politically...
This is why I'm such an AOC believer, because she's just more in touch. And as long as she doesn't let herself get roped in by the worst Elizabeth Warren style advisors to take dumb triangulating positions, if she learns to like regain her voice, the voice of 2018, which was strong and assertive, she'll do well. If she tries to do this triangulating politician speak, she'll do very poorly.
Homeless.
And raise your hand if your electricity bill has gone up and your water bill has gone up.
From the black suburbs of Atlanta.
Are the local politicians supportive or what?
To conservative rural communities.
This is not a party issue, this is a people issue.
That's right.
So it doesn't matter what party you are, it's wrong.
Mm-hmm.
How are voters going to respond to a Democratic socialist from New York?
People want to call me woke, whatever. This is about power.
With the Trump administration pushing for more data centers.
The AI race is a big deal. The construction of colossal data centers. We have to get this stuff built.
Where does that leave regular people, like Beverly Morris?
Well, I feel trapped because I have no way out.
Mm-hmm.
How is the backlash against a data center boom the key to unlocking America's politics?
We've never been more polarized. I just think we got to show up in these places and see these things for ourselves.
Well, do you want to show us there's been some damage to your house?
Of course. Yeah, sure. Come on.
Pamela Felder purchased her dream home 3 years ago.
So the first initial thing I saw was the crack in my porch.
Wow.
All the way across.
All was well until explosive blasts started to shake her home earlier this year.
It sounded like someone picked up my house and went boom. A week after that, that's when I started seeing cracks all throughout my house. And I found out they're putting a data center in my backyard.
The 2 million square foot hyperscale data center is being built less than a mile from Pamela's home.
You can still see where the paint is ripped all the way up my stairs. I noticed the ceiling that looked cracked across there.
My dad worked in construction, so
he did?
so if I look like I'm really sticking my nose in here,
I don't care.
Because
I
I'm
want you
taking
to.
a real look. And your neighbors are experiencing the same thing.
We were all sending letters out to the blasting company.
And what are they saying when they deny it?
They said my house was settling.
Oh, so everyone here's house is settling at the same time.
At the same time.
Pamela's neighbor also came by and insisted we see a giant sinkhole she said was caused by the blasts.
Makes you want to cry. No one's listening. Why a data center? Why now? Why here?
Unprecedented amounts of money are behind the race to build. Meta is investing $600 billion in data center infrastructure through 2028.
That would be enough for high-speed rail to crisscross the country. That's probably somewhere in the range of like 10 to 20,000 miles of high-speed rail, in case you're wondering what that amount of money is. So you could go back across America like 3 times. You could have like a southern line, a central line, and a northern line of high-speed rail from coast to coast. Like, that's just Meta. That's 10 years of free college for everybody at a state school or a historically black college or university. Well, I mean, like, the scale, that's a Pentagon budget. Well, it was before Joe Biden got into office. That was Trump's 2016 Pentagon budget, the entire thing. Like, this amount of money is insane. Except as you build rail and the expertise is built up, the dollar per mile of rail costs would actually drop as well. I mean, yeah, but I'm just trying to give people a sense of the scale.
OpenAI has pledged over $400 billion. Even the real estate company responsible for this site just closed a $3.25 billion funding round.
If these tech folks love these data centers so much, put it in your backyard.
That's right. That's right. Or
put it in your backyard.
Put it away from people's homes.
This is why we're saying we need to slow the roll on this, because they're moving fast. We're just saying pause it so that we can move forward in a more just way.
That's right.
In a fair way.
Yeah, for everybody.
For everybody.
Yeah.
But far from the black suburbs of Atlanta is much Trumpier country, and the idea of AOC isn't as enthusiastically received.
There's some really extreme liberal views out there.
Before they met her, I asked folks what they knew about AOC's politics.
Just from an overall view, very fringe left.
I'm probably a lot more conservative than she is.
How are your politics evolving? And
they're evolving.
I'm not real.
They're evolving. Wow, I can't believe the Panthers are eating my face. I've been a loyal member of the Panther Eating People's Face Party for 30 years. I was thought you were supposed to stay up on somebody else, not me. Now suddenly I'm deciding that regular people deserve a little bit more power.
Impressed
Who could have seen that
with
coming?
the politics on either side.
We first met Beverly.
Oh, either side, guys, either side. Either side is just the same, left and right. That's why we don't need left and right. We need up or down. I gotta be honest with you, like even politicians that I like say this type of shit. I gotta tell you, I have pure contempt for it. It's like one of those things that makes my lip curl. I don't want to have no enemy. Why can't we all just get along? Think about the amount of privilege the boomer generation had. Just the fact that you could be a gray-haired person and say shit like that with a straight face. Fucking embarrassing, man. Goo goo gaga.
Morris and her husband Jeff last year when they showed us how the construction of a 2.5 million.
I'm sorry, I just I want to react to this and be like, yeah, this is really cool, more perfect union, good vibes, but I just react to it. I'm like, goo goo gaga. Like, you know, both sides, they're just so unreasonable. Goo goo gaga.
Square foot Meta data center is contaminating their drinking water, a charge which Meta denies.
This is my cold water pressure in the kitchen.
So you can see the sediment from the data center.
And this is what's in all the pipes, too. They should be responsible for that, not us.
When we were here last year with them, Meta was still building this data center, but now it's operational.
I worry about using the water for everything.
Yeah.
I don't use the water for cooking anymore. I did for a while, you know. I thought, oh, you know, I've got to use it.
Right.
I wouldn't drink it. I haven't drank the water here in
I mean, it should
years.
be, I mean, this is my view, but it should be a right for you to be able to turn on your tap and drink what comes out of it.
The Morrises aren't alone. Other residents also came to us with stories of their contaminated water.
This is the sediment that it's picking up. The cold water pressure everywhere is pretty bad. You cannot take a shower and wash dishes or take a shower and fill up the horse's water. You just can't.
Our refrigerator broke, our HVAC broke. We have issues with the pool. So anything that's water related, we have issues with. And this is the filters from the filtration system after we pull it out, so.
And you used to change those filters once a year, or?
Yeah.
I think typical people are probably 6 months to a year.
Yeah.
And now you're doing it once a month?
Yeah.
But you feel stuck, right? You feel like you can't, even if you wanted to move, you can't.
No, not in.
I visited a lot of people in the fracking debate in Pennsylvania whose water systems were destroyed. And what ends up happening is they destroy your water system, and then people are like, well, why don't you just sell your house? The house was worth literally negative money. Like, the house is actually worth negative money. You know what the banks say? The banks are just like, you don't owe your mortgage anymore, because it is unlivable. They just give up. They don't even want the foreclosure. They just rip it up because the house is literally, and the land is literally worth negative money. You'd have to pay someone to take ownership of it, because it can never, it's just liability. You still owe property taxes based on previous assessments. So it has no value whatsoever. And so people have their entire, and then when they try to sue or whatever, the Republicans have passed laws preempting suit. So you're not allowed to sue for what's called as nuisance. So they block, because, you know, if you create a nuisance where I can no longer freely enjoy my property, you have caused me harm. So you should owe me compensation, right? Or stop the behavior. But the Republicans passed laws saying that you can't sue oil and gas companies or data centers. So you're just fucked, and you have no recourse.
Be able to get the value that we've put into our home.
There is no economic boom from fracking. Once you put in the like gas wells, they pump pretty much automatically. They go into a pipeline automatically. There's almost no jobs. It all goes through a pipeline, that it goes to a storage well. The storage well is that goes to a refinery, and then it gets distributed to the consumer. There is no jobs. There's like 10 people in the entire network. It produces billions of dollars of value for the owners of the wells, but it doesn't require labor. Like, it doesn't produce jobs. And in Pennsylvania, they don't even tax it. So they get nothing out of their country, their state being drilled. Nothing whatsoever, other than having to clean up the pollution. I mean, that's what I ran on. I ran on stopping that. And we lost because it was 2014 and everybody was talking about Obama. And they were worried about Ebola. Ebola was going to come to America because there was about a couple hundred unaccompanied minors from Latin America who were fleeing cartel violence. And there was a small outbreak of Ebola in Africa. And Fox News said that Obama was going to let Ebola spread to the U.S. My opponent said that the 100 or so unaccompanied El Salvadorian minors who were in a local charity were going to bring Ebola to our district. You guys don't even remember this shit because the Republicans constantly bring up more and more made up cockamamie bullshit, and then it goes down the fucking memory hole. And then people are like, well, Graham Plattner, did you see his Reddit post, sir? Yeah, he's anti-war and pro-Medicare for all and pro-Palestine. But did you see his Reddit post from 2013? And you wonder why we're losing. Did you see the dyed-in-the-wool activist who slandered Blasey Ford for Brett Kavanaugh to overturn Roe v. Wade? She made up scurrilous lies about a relationship that ended 15 years ago with no corroboration, not from her diaries, not from her texts. There's no evidence whatsoever, ever, of any of the accusations she made up. But now we should abandon Graham Plattner for the Zionist Janet Mills or whoever the fuck else these people are claiming that it would actually be good. Or we shouldn't care at all as he's getting slandered. I wish like all the people that are going against Graham Plattner in the like greater Hassan orbit, I wish they got 5% of the attention I get from the Zionist lobby. Actually, I wish for them to get 1 month of the appropriate attention from the Zionist lobby that Hassan gets. I wish that on them. Just so they could have a little bit of a context of what death threats or personal defamation in the world's biggest newspapers or any of the other fucking shit that we actually go through because we have relevance, unlike you. And then you aid and abet our enemies, and then you hang around our spaces. That's the most galling part. And then some of the audience members actually go along with it, and they tell me to let bygones be bygones, as these people consistently aid and abet Zionists. They aid and abet Zionists against Zohran Mamdani. They're aiding and abetting Zionists against Plattner. They're aiding and abetting Zionists against Hassan himself. And these people hang around our space, and they tell me to let it go. Whatever Ilhan said about Ukraine sounds based. I know absolutely zero people of consequence were buying the Plattner slander bullshit when I saw Claire McCaskill and James Carville were not even pretending to buy the slander. What do you mean? There's a orbiter of ours that is talking about it every day and trying to like call people misogynist for not believing the Zionist liar. What are you talking about?
Keep going down the line here, Connie.
Our fight is in Coweta County. We just had a large parcel of land rezoned for a data center, but we don't know who it is yet that's coming.
And I'm Tina. I live in Oxford, Georgia, and it's the Amazon data center.
Yeah,
We're
Hutch
not
is so
just
fucking
fighting
stupid. It's insane.
Facebook or Amazon or any of these data centers. That's not who we're fighting. We're fighting the entire institution that allows it.
They think people aren't paying attention. They'll go sniffing around, jiggling every door handle to see what county they can push these things through on.
It is necessary. I understand the need for it, but the manner in which they're going about it is not only wrong, it doesn't even make sense.
I don't blame Amazon. I don't blame those businesses. I blame our government. That's who's supposed to be taking care of me. My commissioner should have been looking after our community. Our governor should be looking after our state, like it goes up. A business is a business, and it's about making business, and they don't care what they're doing to people.
Right.
They don't, and that's a shame, but they're greedy and they don't care.
That's the way it is.
We appreciate you taking the time to come hear about it, because until someone at a national level gets really serious about it, nothing's going to happen.
We should be starting congressional investigations on the effect on these. And figuring out with precision how we protect our water supplies, how we protect your power bills and water bills, and keep people from getting sick.
50 miles away from the Morrises, a group of residents successfully pushed for a moratorium on a 95-acre data center project.
Now, wait a minute, where do I know you from?
I'm a congresswoman from New York.
Oh, come on. Yeah, you my girl, you know.
Thank you.
We organized because we know what we want in our community. And they did not anticipate that when they had the Board of Commissioner meeting that hundreds of us were going to show up. They couldn't deny us. They had to stop and say, wait a minute.
Across the country, more than 50 local data center moratoriums have already been enacted, with dozens more proposed or under consideration across the U.S. But this patchwork approach has left a lot of communities vulnerable.
We're in a neighborhood that's in unincorporated Clayton County, but just over the fence line is the city limits of Forest Park, and that is where the facility is being built.
Wow, okay, all right. So the county has a moratorium,
yes,
but the city does not?
Correct.
Wow. And so the city, even though the city's inside the county,
correct,
it's not covered. Hoo-wee. Yes. All right, talk about a loophole.
Yes.
For now, the local fight continues.
The community has said, we want walkability in our neighborhoods, we want clean air, we want clean water, but we have to keep fighting. It's like a continual fight. It's like we're surrounded by piranhas, you know, that just keep trying to pick at us, but we just keep fighting.
In March 2026, AOC and Senator Bernie Sanders introduced legislation at the federal level called the AI Data Center Moratorium Act. It's both a response to growing opposition to these facilities, but also about the need to establish a nationwide policy about their construction.
Our responsibility is to take care of people, and that is what we're here to do today.
What you're proposing is a national moratorium.
Yes, and it's, you know, it's not the same thing as an outright ban, but it's saying we need to meet some basic protections for people. We need some guarantees on your water, on the air that you breathe. We need to make sure that the jobs that stand to be wiped out, that there's a plan for that, and we're not just leaving people, you know, out to dry. And we need to just have some really basic common sense protections for people.
The bill would require a building moratorium until the federal government passes laws mitigating job losses, preventing utility rate hikes, and establishing environmental protections, among other things. The question is whether this is enough to persuade conservative voters to support someone far across the political aisle.
By the way, they just don't even know what that means. Like, can we stop for a second? Can we be completely honest about regular people? And I'm including about 50% of the chatters. You have no fucking idea what politics even is. Okay, like, these people have no idea what the fuck conservatism is. They have no idea what socialism is. They have no idea what policies are. It's 100% vibes. They genuinely do not even know what they're supposed to believe. And I'm tired of pretending. I was in classrooms with you, okay? I know you don't know anything, okay? Like, I'm not confused. You didn't do the reading, all right? When we finished the test in 5 minutes and you were struggling for an hour, it's because you didn't do the fucking reading. I know you didn't do the fucking reading. They don't know what left wing is. They don't know what right wing is. They don't even know what you're referring to when you say the aisle. When I say I'm on the other side of the aisle, what am I talking about? They don't know. Let's be completely honest. They don't know what the fuck that even means. So let's stop with this. Let's just talk about our policies. And the reason why I'm saying this is every time we do this left-right shit, like the reason why I have contempt for the fact that we even say this stuff is they don't even know what left-wing means. They don't know what right-wing means. They say left or right, but they don't even know. It's an empty set for them. It doesn't mean anything to them other than maybe like bad vibes of like a political argument, right? They don't really get it. And that's why they're staring there like deer in the headlights when the rich billionaires are trotting all over their rights, because that's the essence of right-wing ideology, is that the rich rule. The elites are in power because they're better, that there is a hierarchy. And if you're not at the top, then you don't matter. That's what right-wing means. Right-wing is about reifying, protecting, and maintaining the current status hierarchies and power hierarchies. Are you rich? Are you powerful? Then you are a fucking peasant. That's what right-wing means. So if you're doing anything against ideologies like that, then you're not on the left. If you think regular people should have more power, that's the left. That's what left means. And again, that's why I just find this to be embarrassing because, you know, let's be completely honest. There's this kind of vulgar democracy, like we're worshiping the idea of like, well, if the majority of people say something, that means that it's right. No, it's crude. We have this position because it's a crude division of the population to avoid civil conflict. But to have a true democracy, you need to have an educated populace that isn't stupid and superstitious and ignorant. They have to actually know shit in order to make political decisions. Voting is meaningless if you don't know what anything is. It's a random number generator then. And that is like that's the crisis we're in. These people don't know what the fuck they're talking about.
I think that people here could get behind someone like AOC.
Notice the black community organized a moratorium and the Chud whites just sat there dumbfounded. Yeah, of course. Okay, but you get why people say up versus downs. It's something even these people understand. It opens them up to learning about left versus right. No, you're absolutely right. Am I allowed to be mad? Am I allowed to be disgusted that people don't have a fucking high school level understanding of politics? Am I okay with living in a democracy of fools? Can I just be allowed to yell about it once in a while? Can I just be frustrated that people are fucking brain dead slop merchants for 5 minutes? Am I allowed to just be Tired of it? Like come on.
And her ideas for AI and data centers?
I think they would get behind anyone who was going to fight for their rights to clean water and to live their life without dealing with this.
Now the tide on this is starting to turn.
I think the reason why I like AOC and Bernie is that they can remain tolerant of this shit. They know what I'm saying. They agree with what I'm saying. But they could go out there and, like a good politician, have this kind of pseudo reverence for the people, you know, and be like, you're right, you guys, you know, you guys are so wise. Like, that is the skill. The skill is masking your contempt. That's the fucking skill. You know who's the best at it? Zoran Mamdani. Honestly, legitimately, you can't even tell. That guy's fucking good at it. Like, he can really, he's got that smile. It even reaches his eyes. He's fucking good at it. Mike, you're giving the game away. I mean, let's be honest here. This country voted for Donald Trump twice. I think everybody is comfortable with the idea that a large percentage of people are fucking morons, right? I think everybody's okay with us saying that. They just think they're not the moron. You should have contempt if you're fighting for working people. Oh, I 100% don't have contempt for working people. I don't. I have contempt for the cliche politician blathering that everybody likes. Not left, right, but up, down is politician blather. You're falling for the shit you claim to not fall for. That is politician speak. Actual working class people understand that they're in a struggle against the rich. They're in a struggle against their bosses. They're in a struggle against, dare I say, cops or ICE. They're not confused. They're not doing this blathering bullshit. This is politician crap. And I don't like it. I gotta be honest with you. I find it contemptuous that you fall for this shit. I mean, how long have people been saying stuff like that? We gotta get everybody together. We gotta work across the aisle. We gotta all work together. How long has that been going on? And who's been saying it? The most arrogant, centrist, the most cynical bastards have been saying that shit for decades. Don't you get tired of it? Don't you get tired of being treated like an idiot, like a dope? So they could get rich, or they could serve the interests of the billionaire class and of the Zionists and of the Epstein pedophiles. Don't you get embarrassed that the same crap works on people? Isn't this the same reason you chimped out on who? No, I disagreed about supporting people who wanted war with China.
The politics on this, because everyday people are starting to catch on to what's going on.
She may be on the left, but on the data center issue, seems more centered and genuinely concerned about people. And that's refreshing to hear.
How do you wrap your head around addressing this at the national level?
We need to put people first, and we need those protections to be ironclad and guaranteed before we can have a conversation about what does and doesn't get constructed.
Do you think that this is an issue that could maybe pull our country together?
I don't know if it's going to pull our government all together. It's pulling the people together.
If there's a chance that anything can be done, I feel like she is going to be the one to do it.
Days later, AOC showed Beverly's water samples to an EPA water official testifying before her committee.
I have a jar right here. The only difference between the clean water and this was that data center. I have another one as well. This is what the drinking water now looks like next to that data center. And I think both of us can agree that neither one of these things are drinkable.
So as soon as I get back to the office, I will be looking into exactly what you've just talked about, because anywhere, whatever type of construction it is a priority to ensure that water quality standards established by EPA are being met.
There are a lot of people with a lot of money who don't want to see this thing slow down. They're like, the train's moving fast. We can't afford to stop. Doesn't matter. We'll figure it out later.
By the way, notice that we don't have $600 billion for housing, right? Notice that none of these rich people looked out onto America's streets and saw 1 million people living there unsheltered and said, we gotta, you know, maybe we should take some, you know, some of these empty parking lots and abandoned commercial properties all throughout Los Angeles and plow $600 billion into building homes. All of this is to chase a fucking Wall Street bubble.
I've been in a lot of political fights that have seen
What the fuck is chimping out? A racist framing of the reaction black people have to being disrespected is to imply that any amount of reaction, however appropriate, is an animalistic and hones in on calling them an ape. Disgusting shit, to be honest. Yeah, basically what happens is chipping out is really a alt-right derived term where somebody, like, we've talked about this before, but basically the use of the N-word is a death threat in the American context. When black people were called the N-word in the American South during Jim Crow, that was to give that attention to the idea that they were in the subordinate racial caste and that they were pissing off a white person, and if they didn't comply immediately, that they would be lynched. That was the word. That's what the N-word was for, which is you're a subhuman. You are outside of your caste. If you don't do what I say, I will get you killed. So that's what the N-word is for. So whenever somebody uses the N-word, it is playing on that. It's a death threat, which is why when black people get called the N-word, especially by random white people, they act in a immediate way. They get so fired up. Either they'll run away or they will start, fight or flight immediately kicks in. And so you'll have these like white racists who will play off this like, oh, it's just a word. Why are you letting a word hurt you? But it's not a word. It's a threat. And if you're not aware of American history, which is 99.9% of people, they don't really have a good sense of it. They think that these are just hypocritical. Oh, I thought you believed in free speech. Why can't I say the N-word just because I'm white? That's not so. Like a black person telling another black person the N-word, there's no racial caste threat. There's no lynching threat. If anything, it is subversive. When a white person uses it, that's an implicit threat. And it's like very obvious and very clear because a black person can't tell another black person you're outside the racial caste and I'm now going to lynch you for it because they're also black. They don't have that power in society. So that's why people will say chimping out, because, you know, you'll film black people acting in a way where they recognize what's going on and they've been dehumanized, and they fight, and then the people will say, look how they look like an ape, which is a way of dehumanizing them more. Thank you for explaining the phrase. You're welcome.
Seemed insurmountable before, that we've won.
1, 2, 3.
No data center.
No. I just don't believe in impossible. I just think that, you know, if you think something's impossible, it's just,
Thank you for the
that's an
25.
imagination problem.
We're going to keep following this story. If you have any tips for us, please reach out at stories@perfectunion.us and continue to follow our reporting.
I'm allowed, by the way, I'm allowed to have my reaction. Like, I'm sorry, guys. Like, I think AOC did a great job, and she, you know, going down there, and I think she's right to be on track for standing against these AI data centers in the way that they're trampling on everybody's rights. I think that's a good way to get, like, rural voters to reconsider their political alignment. It's a great way of like making inroads in specific communities. I think it's a very smart play that she's doing, and I'm excited about it. Glad to see AOC is on it. That being said, I get very annoyed with the fucking politician speak. Am I allowed to get annoyed by the politician speak and the way that, like, I mean, if you're 70 years old in America, you have heard it isn't left and right. There isn't red state America and blue state America. There is the United States of America for fucking 50 fucking years. It's a cliche. It's it's garbage. It's platitudes. Doesn't mean a goddamn thing. And it's fucking embarrassing that people nod along with it like it matters. Sure, but it's not for us, Mike. I want a world that's for smart people. I want a world for people that actually take themselves seriously enough to read a fucking book once in a while. You know, like, Jesus Christ. All right, what was I saying? Oh, so I don't know if you saw this, but Jeff Bezos's Washington Post published, I know firsthand why Graham Plattner shouldn't be a U.S. senator. I quit the campaign last fall, disturbed what I'd learned about the Maine Democratic Senate primary candidate. Every time I work on a campaign, do you know what I make people do? Sign mutual non-disclosure step 1. Non-disparagement, non-disclosure. You want to work on a campaign? You fucking, that's step fucking 1. The fact that they didn't do that, that sounds like some fucking soft-headed lib bullshit to me. Don't you have to convince people that it's left versus right because the right is not in their interest? Well, yeah, of course. I'm not saying that AOC shouldn't do it. I'm just saying that I'm tired of it and it's boring, and it you know, am I not allowed to have an opinion about how this shit doesn't work on me and it's embarrassing when it does? Can I be a little iconoclastic over platitudes at this point? Jesus. Okay. Genevieve MacDonald, a former Maine state representative, is the former political director of Graham Plattner's Democratic Senate primary campaign in Maine. I became Graham Plattner's political director in August 2025 as he launched a bid for the Democratic Senate primary in Maine. Taking the job meant leaving a position as a senior policy advisor at a government relations firm in the state. You mean being a lobbyist? But I thought that Plattner and I shared the same goal, fighting for the working people of Maine. I quit the campaign in October, disturbed by what I learned about the candidate and concerned about his potential impact on the Democratic Party's prospects in my home state. AKA, she overreacted to the Reddit posts. She gave up her job for the Reddit post. Read our full archive of Graham Plattner's deleted Reddit comments. Apparently, they leaked mid-October 2025. Here it is. The Maine Morning Star. Unearthed Reddit comments present first stumble in Plattner's rise. October 17th, 2025. So she saw the Reddit post. She got the first scandal. And she said, oh no. Oh no, he's going to lose. I need to get out of this guy's campaign. The idea that she was like, oh, I'm so concerned. Shut the fuck up. You're an idiot. You fell for the dumb smear. As Tuesday's primary arrives, I want to make clear what transpired since August and why my concerns have only grown. Advocating for working people of Maine has driven me in my days as a commercial lobster boat captain and continued to drive me as a state legislator. I support my local community today by serving as the school board chair. Graham Plattner is not someone who would be good for Maine or for the country. If America wants a stronger democracy, elevating leaders with integrity is essential. Leaders who with sound judgment, blah, blah, blah. Plattner has shown he's not such a leader. He exhibits a pattern of dishonest behavior that is impossible to ignore. Okay, what's the dishonesty? In September, he told me that he had a tattoo that could be problematic, but assured me it was a military thing. I believed him. So you stayed on after you found out about the tattoo, and it was a military thing. Then I began receiving calls from Washington warning me that he was not who he seemed. Have you read his Oppo file? Wait, you started getting calls from Washington? Who called you? Who the fuck called you? Who called you from Washington? Was it Chuck Schumer's Zionist AIPAC lobbyists who were trying to install Janet Mills, the decrepit, unpopular governor? I trusted that his out-of-state consulting team had thoroughly vetted him. Campaign marched into the fall, drawing crowds across the state. It was energizing and exciting. I shared a stage with him. I invited people who trusted me to meet with him. I sold his narrative of redemption, that he was a military veteran who, during some troubled times, had moved home to Maine to live a simple life. Okay, so all of that's the same. You didn't refute any of that. But at the same time, I shared my growing apprehension with my closest friends. When I raised concerns to anyone in the campaign, Plattner would call me and convince me that everything was fine and that his intentions were noble. I was willing to believe his explanations. I wanted to believe until his flaws as a candidate became impossible to ignore. You fell for the stupid Reddit post leak, and now you're trying to justify the fact that you called it wrong. Nobody gave a shit. So you're trying, this is like a problem that we oftentimes have. It's like somebody takes a shot at someone and they miss. And that they used to have a positive relationship with that person, right? Let's say that you were like a streamer that was 5,000 viewer Andy, and somebody else was say like a 200 viewer Andy. And I was always nice to that 200 viewer Andy. And then he tried to get me permabanned for anti-Semitism along with major Zionists. And then I go, wow, this guy's a scumbag piece of shit who stabbed me in the back. And now I permanently hate the guy for, you know, siding with Zionists and calling me all sorts of things that are not an accurate reflection of who I am, right? Just hypothetically. So now that they've done this attack on somebody who trusted them and was helping them, now suddenly they're surprised that they can't go back to the old ways. Like, won't you forgive me? I was only trying to get you deplatformed and permanently labeled a fucking bigot and destroy your livelihood and your career. Why are you so mad? Well, I don't want to live in a movement that has a bunch of disgusting snakes that are looking for any opportunity to stab anybody else in the back for their own personal advancement. Those type of people should not be in our fucking movement, because once a craven opportunist, always a craven opportunist. Mistakes are forgivable. Disgusting backstabbing behavior is not. She attacked Graham Plattner and he survived the attacks. And now she's willing to work with anybody because if he wins, her political career is finished. That's what's happening here. So she miscalculated about the Reddit posts mattering. They didn't matter. And now she quit the thing and she joined with the Republicans to attack Graham Plattner now because that's the only way to stop him. Because unless he's stopped, she's fucking toast. Days before CNN broke a story about his archive Reddit posts, I was provided a document containing multiple inflammatory posts that were attributed to Plattner posting against P. Hustle. When the story published, it noted that Plattner has suggested online that rural white Americans are racist or stupid. I realized the campaign had not been honest with me. As someone from a real working class background, I knew this would undermine his cross-party appeal. Hillary Clinton said that all of Trump's supporters are the basket of deplorables. Who gives a shit? People say this kind of stuff about large swaths of people every other day. Who cares? This is not 2005 anymore. People are okay with authentic feelings and understand that that doesn't mean that he hates all the people of rural Maine. And neither do you. You are desperately grasping at straws. You're a fraud. Troubling posts kept surfacing. Politico ran a story with online posts about political violence that were new to me. Just quote them. Just quote the posts. You just did. Why aren't you quoting them? Why are you characterizing them? Just quote them. They're so bad. Quote them. What are you doing? I don't understand. He promoted violent political action and since deleted online posts. Okay, let's see what he said. If people expect to fight fascism without a good semi-automatic rifle, they ought to do some reading of history. An armed working class is a requirement for economic justice. Based. I don't think he was saying shoot anybody. He was saying that to fight fascism, you should be prepared. Based and true. Next. Again, look at the way they look at the way they characterize this shit. Fucking pathetic. While his Reddit comments in 2013 downplaying sexual assault were revealed by the post on October 17th, I submitted my resignation and made it public. Okay, so let's see what he said. He said, in a separate thread about a video promoting underwear designed to prevent rape, Plattner urged people to avoid alcohol so they don't end up in a dangerous situation. Rape is a real thing. If you're so worried about it to buy Kevlar underwear, you think you might not get blacked out, fucked up around people you aren't comfortable with. Now, obviously, no one who's raped is ever responsible for being raped. That's always on the rapist. But this is where lib idpol causes people to think they're ridiculous. This is basic, like, street smarts. Hey, if you feel like you're going in a situation where you're wearing Kevlar underwear, maybe don't get blackout drunk. That is just common sense, kind of like fucking street smart talk. It's not woke, perfectly, feminist, don't ever blame any victim of being assaulted, blah, blah, you're doing victim. Like, yes, I understand that is not the most perfect ideal way to speak, but normal people would not see that as an offense. But notice the way they characterize it. Notice the way they're characterizing what he said as rape apologia or victim blaming when he's not at all what he's saying. He even did the rape is a real thing caveat. And I bet you nobody was offended at the time. I bet you nobody was offended at the time because this is just street smarts. Hey, if you're in a situation where you might want to buy Kevlar underwear, maybe don't get blackout drunk. Like, give me a fucking break, man. Again, notice that's no one would ever resign over this. This is nonsense. Again, they're just characterizing it that way because they're Zionist scum and they're looking for anything they can mischaracterize to smear the guy. It's that simple. Meanwhile, Donald Trump actually raped a woman and was found guilty. Meanwhile, Donald Trump said, when you're famous, you could grab him by the pussy. Notice Graham Plattner didn't say that. Notice Graham Plattner is not being sued for doing a sexual assault. Look at the way that they're actually on the New York at the Washington Post and the New York Times. They are cooking up bullshit over all the Reddit posts that were made anonymously a decade ago, 13 years ago, which were not even victim blaming. They weren't even that problematic. They're just not perfectly woke. So we have one based comment that I agree with, and then one where I recognize that it's not ideal feminist conception of the world, and I recognize it as like dumb guy street smarts thing that you would hear people say that is like, you know what I mean? Like, it's not ruinously misogynistic to say, hey, don't get blackout drunk around people you're not comfortable with. If you think that's ruinously misogynistic, you're insane. You actually are insane. I would no longer validate Plattner. She thought the fucking Reddit posts were gonna hurt and they didn't. And now she's fucking cooked. So she gave up her career, right? She betrayed the campaign to, I guess, work for Janet Mills. And that failed because no one gave a shit. They looked at the Reddit posts just as I said. And by the way, Graham Plattner didn't try to go out there and defend them. He said, listen, I wouldn't say that today. It's my dumbest thing I said on the internet 13 years ago. Please don't judge me by that. It's not how I would talk today. Like, what is the fucking game here? Like, this is nonsense. Graham Plattner leaker failed to disclose previous financial conflict of interest. Oh, what do you know? Her decision to violate Gertner's privacy bewildered many, but she leaked the message because she believed voters should know about Plattner's marital issues. Like, I mean, this is, wow. However, McDonald's failure to disclose a prior financial conflict of interest lobby against Airbnb regulations, questions are being raised about whether, as a Democratic political operative, she currently has a financial motive for violating Amy Gertner's confidentiality. When the town of Stovington, Maine was debating placing restrictions on Airbnb property rentals in the small island town located on Deer Island across the bay from Acadia National Park, following the pandemic and the widespread adoption of work-from-home rules, Stovington had seen an influx of folks from higher rent cities seeking cheaper housing on the scenic island village. Housing costs in Hannock County, where Stovington is located, had risen by 32% in 2023 alone, according to Maine Morning Star. Many longtime residents in Stovington were upset about being priced out. In the spring of 2024, residents and city council members began an effort to impose restrictions on Airbnb rentals in the island village. At the council meeting, many residents were shocked when McDonald stood to speak out against the proposed Airbnb regulations. The previous November, McDonald had been appointed the executive director of the Island Workforce Housing Initiative, which was leading an effort to build affordable housing on the island. Our homes and property are our most significant investment, McDonald said, arguing against the regulations. Some became upset when they realized McDonald had not disclosed she owned several Airbnb properties on Deer Island. McDonald had just assumed the post as the nonprofit's first paid executive director 5 months prior. Typical Democrat fucking nonprofit grifter. Holy fucking shit. As scrutiny of Plattner's continued to heat up after my departure, the campaign offered me $50,000 to sign a non-disclosure agreement. I refused. Then his skull and crossbones tattoo, a subject used by the Nazis, was revealed. A symbol used by the Nazis was revealed. His team's cavalier response to what I strongly suspected was feigned ignorance about the significance was appalling. I said so publicly. Plattner's campaign attacked me instead of confronting his shortcomings. So in other words, old Reddit posts, which he probably didn't even think were going to be relevant and got, nobody knows how they were linked to him, by the way. People suspect that it was artificial intelligence from Palantir in cooperation with the Israeli government, because nobody knows how the P Hustle Reddit was linked to Plattner. Nobody knows how that happened. So people suspect that it was probably AI Palantir shit connecting like big data from behind the scenes and able to like connect device logins and shit, like literally. So we don't even know why the Reddit post became public. And the second thing is the tattoo, which he didn't know what it was. He got it covered up, and there's no evidence he was ever a Nazi. He never has a single statement of him saying Nazi shit. Isn't that odd? He's so dedicated to Nazism to get a Nazi tattoo, but he's never said anything, even on his anonymous account, that was Nazi adjacent. Weird. It's almost like he wasn't a Nazi, and he was just a dumb fuck who got a skull and crossbones tattoo. Crossbones tattoo. Whatever. You know, you get my point. Well, like, this is just nonsensical bullshit. And I'm sorry for speaking so strongly against this stuff, but they're going to do it to everybody. The New York Times told people not to rank Zoran Mamdani in the primary. He was impeccable. He didn't have one smidge of dirt on him. And they said, don't rank him. Let's be fucking honest here. Okay? What the hell is going on? A Plattner spokesperson told the press, I was a disgruntled former employee. You are. His campaign claimed to Politico I was offered a severance package not contingent on an NDA, which you didn't say is not true. That's just them talking about you. Then in late May, the Wall Street Journal contacted me, saying it had multiple sources confirming that Plattner, who is married, had a history of sexting with other women. The multiple sources were his wife, Amy Gertner, had made the campaign aware of the problem before Labor Day, an early sign for me. The campaign I'd signed up a few weeks earlier was not who he seemed, aka the Republican operative who he had dated 15 years earlier and who had been a Susan Collins front person for voting for Brett Kavanaugh. I spoke with the Journal off the record, but I went on record with the New York Times. Oh, by the way, speaking with the Journal off the record is a violation of privacy. Off the record doesn't mean anything. I need to explain this to any of you who are new to dealing with journalists. A lot of you guys probably have a very liberal perception that journalists are good people. You are wrong. They are not. All right, I really need you to let that sink the fuck in, okay? A journalist is not a good person. The best way to think of them is a rumor monger for profit. Now, some rumor mongers for profit are good people. The vast majority are not. The vast majority are not. Now, there are a lot of journalists that I personally like and support. But the idea that it's some sort of noble profession is an American liberal fucking hallucination. So when you are speaking to a journalist and you say, oh, I'm going off the record, do you know what that means? Fucking nothing. That means they're telling you, I personally promised you that I won't quote you. But personal promises are unenforceable. They could go, turn around, and quote you. That's called burning a source. They do it all the fucking time. They don't like to do it because they like having people whisper shit to them with no accountability because it means they get more rumors. But if they have to for their career, they will 100,000% burn you. So a journalist is... and once you understand that they are a rumor monger for profit, you will treat them with the appropriate level of disdain. Whenever you are this like being investigated by a journalist, unless you know they are an ally, which you never do, you should take it as a serious personal threat, which it is. Every time I get called by a journalist I don't know, I consider it a dangerous situation because it is. And I'm telling you all this even though it's very unpopular in a liberal and left-leaning spaces to speak this honestly, is because I don't want you to be tricked and think journalists are your fucking friend. They're not. There's a few that I like. They've been on the stream. Ryan Grimm, Taylor, etc. But don't you for 1 second think that I think journalists are good people. They're fucking not. How many people quit CBS after it was bought by fucking the most evil Zionists in history? Barely any. Fuck, the guy who just got fired from 60 Minutes didn't even quit. They fired him because he complained. He didn't even quit. He was forced. They fired his ass. All right. Anyway, sorry for that off-topic point. I just needed to say. So when she went off the record, she was trying to slander Graham Plattner without having any personal accountability. But she was forced to go on the record for the New York Times because they wouldn't publish without her on the record. They probably told her that. They said, we don't have enough sources to publish this without you going on the record. So in an effort to destroy and defame Graham, she decided to go on the record. That's how committed. It's not a stupid point, but you can believe that to make the problem about running at night instead of a larger social issue about violence against women and not dealing with that is the issue. No, I completely agree with you. I think rape culture is a major problem. I would not post what Graham Plattner said, right? Because I'm a feminist and I know what that means. I would not go seeing a product designed to help women feel safe against being assaulted and go, oh man, just don't, I wouldn't post what he wrote because I think that's dumb as fuck of a post. But I also know that's what regular people think. Regular people think like that. Normies think like that. Non-feminists think like that. They have a just world fallacy brain where they're like, if you get victimized, it's at least partly your fault because you didn't do good enough with street smarts. You didn't take care of yourself. You should have done X, Y, and Z thing. That's how they avoid fear in their own lives. They have a just world fallacy about victim status. They say, oh, that wouldn't happen to me because I wouldn't do X, Y, and Z thing. That's how they don't melt into a puddle because they can't handle the fact that the universe is random and uncaring and bad shit just happens sometimes and there's nothing you can do about it. For some people, they can't handle that. So they have a stupid fucking just world fallacy cope session every day. And that's actually a major problem in our politics is a lot of people, whenever they see someone harmed, they kind of blame the victim a bit. So it doesn't surprise me to see dumb normie guys say, hey, instead of buying Kevlar underwear, maybe don't drink or get blackout drunk near to bad people. That is just normie shit. That's normie shit. I don't think he meant to downplay and victim blame women. But again, I think if you are properly trained in feminism, you understand that is in a sense blaming the victim. See, that's why it's a class thing, by the way, because I have taken high level feminist, women's studies classes and shit. And I've read, Wollstonecraft and McKinnon and Dworkin and all sorts of people that you haven't read. I actually do. I have done that homework, right? But again, I know what regular people are like. I'm not out of touch in a fucking bubble. So when I see this stuff, I know what it is. It's bullshit. The essence of the Kevlar underwear already puts the responsibility on the women victim to take precautions in a way. That sketchy comment he left was part of the premise of What can women do to prevent this? Well, of course. But if you're a woman and you've been victimized, part of the response to that is you're going to try to harden yourself as a target. You're going to probably get a gun. That's part of like the healing of victimization is like going, I feel empowered in the actions I can take to lessen the risk of it happening again. It's a natural psychological response to being attacked. Or if somebody has a lot of anxiety about it, they might be willing to get some of these kind of products in order to like relieve their anxiety, to bring agency back into themselves instead of dealing with the fear of randomness in society and shit like that. It's totally normal. Again, this is just understanding psychology, understanding the psychology of victimhood, and the way people deal with anxieties and stuff like that. All I'm trying to say is, in no way was Graham Plattner saying anything that isn't a conventional thought for normal people. And to try to characterize him as anti-feminist is absolute bullshit. He is not an anti-feminist. He is not somebody who is like saying women deserve to be raped or anything. That's just a lie. Now, has he got the most advanced woke one fucking training in feminism? No. But the fact that they're attacking him for this, they would never attack anyone else for this. Republicans would openly say that shit. Republican politicians, while campaigning for office, would openly say that shit. They would openly say what they're trying to make a scandal out of what Graham Plattner said in a Reddit post 13 years ago. Plattner and his campaign admitted the sexting occurred, but that denounced the reports as journalistic malpractice and gossip from a former staffer, me. He was upset apparently that he had sexted with as many as a dozen women when his campaign clarified it was only half as many. No, what he was upset about is nobody knew about that but him and his wife. And she told you that in confidence as a marital problem that they had worked through. And you're the source of the information for the fucking media, you fucking scumbag. So in other words, you violated the trust. You said, trust me, I'll keep this confidential. And then you spread it all over the New York Times for profit, you fucking scum. Over the past 8 months, women have come to me with their own disturbing stories about Plattner. Last week, revelations about his physical mistreatment of women erupted at the Times. I've never met or spoken with Lindsay Fiefeld, who spoke to the Times, but I knew about her experience while dating him. Yet many Democrats seem unconcerned. On CNN, Senator Bernie Sanders offered a dismissive response about Plattner's behavior. Is he a saint? I guess not. I don't know too many saints here. His comment reflects one of the deepest problems in American politics today. We have learned to excuse what we should condemn. I want better for my daughters and for the people of Maine. Legitimately, and I mean this totally, if you fall for this kind of shtick, you deserve to be robbed. And I don't think anybody is falling for this. I think the people that are falling for this were already ideological opponents of Graham Plattner and of populist leftism and going after the powers that be, the status quo. They're pretending to fall for it. They don't believe it. Why do I say that? Because they happily campaigned with Bill Clinton, who fucked a 21-year-old intern in the Oval Office while president of the United States, who was sued by multiple women for sexual harassment, including using a state trooper while he was governor of Arkansas to pressure Paula Jones to have the sexual contact. The guy was a fucking predator. And every single Democrat, including the national, now the National Organization for Women, covered it up. Okay, so, and he's still in good standing. They campaigned with Cuomo, who was who had to resign in disgrace for all the sexual harassment he was doing for all sorts of campaign staffers. She worked for Brett Kavanaugh, Lindsay Fiefeld, to attack Blasey Ford when she came forward of the sexual assault she suffered from Brett Kavanaugh. This is a lie. You're lying. You don't care about any of this. And the fact is, these accusations have absolutely no credibility whatsoever. From a proven Zionist liar who attacks women victims and has no outside corroboration, there is no evidence here. And that's why every single Democratic senator is behind Graham Plattner, because they know if they were to give this oxygen, the same shit would happen to them. They're not stupid enough to fall for it, because they understand once you start letting right-wing operatives lie about Democratic Senate campaigns, every campaign from here till the end of time will be nothing but right-wing operatives willing to lie for money. And let me tell you, there are millions of scumbags like that, unfortunately. Democrats are being sold a narrative that Plattner is the only choice for the race against Republican Susan Collins. Maine voters don't have to accept that. There are two other named candidates on Tuesday's ballot. Plattner wins the nomination, but later withdraws. Maine Democrats can hold a convention and choose a different nominee. The answer to a broken political culture is not to accept it. Demand better from those entrusted with power seeking it. Enough is enough. Now, here's what I would say. This person is scum, and there's really nothing more to say. There is not 1 ounce of honesty in this person's body. They're a fucking freak, and they're evil. And I want you to understand something, chat. The comments, all 2,000 of them, are going to agree with me completely. Why didn't we see this kind of character autopsy about Trump in the Washington Post prior to the last election? Thank God, goodness, we have a law-abiding saint in the White House. Yes, the corporate news media has one clear, simple rule of thumb. Democratic candidates must be morally perfect, and Republican candidates' moral transgressions are irrelevant. I live about 15 miles from Plattner, nearly as close to the author. Maine is a small community. The author leaves out a lot of history here, including her own. She was pitching this text for months off the record before the Wall Street Journal finally published. She acts like she was a bystander when she was the main source, a terrible violation of Amy Gertner's privacy and campaign ethics. Amy is Plattner's wife. The author is also a lobbyist for a firm trying to defeat Maine's data privacy laws and for less regulation of pesticides. She had to quit working for another Maine politician, Jordan Woods, on the day the Wall Street Journal article came out because of her unethical role in leaking confidential information shared when she was employed by Plattner and trusted by Gertner. I don't know why she's such a vendetta against Plattner, but if she's going to stay on her high horse about ethics and work so hard to elect Collins, maybe she should take a look in the mirror. Her daughters are much more likely to be harmed by another 6 years of Collins supporting the MAGA agenda. I feel bad for this woman if she was harmed, but where was the Washington Post opinion for the victim after Donald Trump was held liable for assaulting her and claiming that this fact alone should have disqualified him from running for office? Republicans only want you to take this into account when the alleged misbehavior is by a Democrat. They certainly do not care about the Trump assault, despite the fact that unlike these alleged incidents, it was confirmed in a court of law. Isn't the woman who accused him of grabbing her wrist a MAGA Republican Trump supporter? Somehow that's completely left out of the news coverage. Maine voters could choose a flawed candidate in Plattner or a truly evil candidate in Susan Collins. I don't doubt that Plattner has homophobic and misogynistic tendencies. Sadly, that's true for many, maybe most Americans. What I definitely know is that Susan Collins voted to confirm sex abuser Kavanaugh for the Supreme Court. Collins supports an obscene funding of billions for Trump's personal police force, which holds 70,000 people in Trump's concentration camps. Collins has allowed Republicans to rape our environment, dismantle our medical research systems, and gut our healthcare. This is way more obscene than anything Plattner did. Even someone who is buying into the attacks is like, fuck Susan Collins. I think the fact that he dated a Republican comfort woman casts serious doubt on his judgment, but maybe he's grown from that experience. I mean, I think that's a little bit of a harsh. That's a little bit too harsh for me. I don't think you should call her a comfort woman, dude. That's fucked up. But you see what I mean about regular guys, regular people? Like, chill. McDonald neglected to tell us that all her 5 of 6 women interviewed by the New York Times said that Plattner was kind, considerate, fun, and they felt safe with him, but they was obviously troubled and drank heavily. Lindsay Fifield, who contacted the Times, was careful not to call Plattner abusive in the New York Times article, but she said this on Musk and Zuckerberg's social media platforms. Lindsay Fifield, who says Plattner was rough with her, also told the Times she had backup witnesses. The backup didn't back her up. The Times left this out of their hit piece. And McDonald doesn't inform readers that Fifield was co-founder of a group called Ladies for Kavanaugh to support the SCOTUS nominee when the woman came forward who accused Kavanaugh of sexually abusing them. Christine Blasey Ford accused Kavanaugh of raping her, but Fifield urged the public not to believe these women. Fifield has worked for the Heritage Foundation, the Trump administration, Republican campaigns. It is a professional Republican operative. Again, regular people are not buying this shit. My God, can people stop talking about the tattoo? The skull and crossbones is used by pirates and apothecaries. If it were a swastika, I would agree that it's relevant. As it stands, it just makes the writer sound like another AIPAC-funded politician, because they are. And I would agree with you. If it was like, I recognize the Totenkopf because I'm a history freak. I recognize all the symbols of fascism from Nazism because I studied it and I'm intelligent. Most people have not wasted their time doing that. They know Nazis are bad and they don't need to learn all the details. I studied the details because I was passionate about learning history. But the fact that I can recognize a Totenkopf or an SA emblem or the Der Weilger Brigade or all the other symbols, SS symbols of Nazism and neo-Nazism is my own hyperfixation. It's not a normal expectation. Now, if it was a swastika, then that would be a different story because it's unambiguously pro-Nazi. He fucked up, he got it covered up, and there's no evidence that he's a Nazi. None. Among Bezos, AIPAC, NRSC, and other, the hit pieces just keep on coming. They want compliant Susan, who's their team player in the seat. That's it. This article reminds me of the variation of the Michelle Obama saying, when Republicans go low, Democrats go high and dive right off the cliff. Let's not. Plattner isn't running to be your best friend or mine. He's ready to help push the Republican Party out of power in the Senate. That's pretty much it. And Democrats need to get it. Feeling good about ourselves doesn't preserve democracy, end wars, and save our planet. God damn, the regular people are so much smarter than the so-called leftists on Twitch. God damn, that's funny. If Platter gets elected, the people of Maine decide he's not doing a good job for them. If Platter got elected, the people of Maine would adore him like they like Bernie Sanders. It'd be fucking Jover. Like, let's be completely honest. They can replace him in 6 years. The entire country is stuck with misogynistic beer enthusiast Brett Kavanaugh for decades, thanks to Susan Collins. Congrats to the author for having the courage to write this piece despite knowing your fellow lefties will be canceling and vilifying you for eternity. Clearly, if the Dems had any morals, they would dump Plattner immediately. There's absolutely no room for our political system for this type of appalling individual. Negative 36 likes. Oh my God, I can't believe what the far right has been able to do with legacy news media. Before Bezos took over WAPO, would never have debased itself running such a disgusting op-ed. Wow, 2 Platter hit jobs in today's op-ed. Somebody must be really worried about having an anti-billionaire candidate on the ballot in Maine. Some of the things coming out about Plattner bother me, but he's not in the Epstein files. Although the article is concerning, as Susan Collins might say, I'm a bit skeptical of the post. The editorial board went hard after Mamdani, expressed great dismay over Gavin Newsom's diaper for newborns program, and almost always gives a total pass to the worst person in the world. Kind of seems like Dem candidates must be saints. Not saying Plattner's past conduct is okay, but wondering what the Post will publish an unflattering depiction of Donald Trump Jr. Or, excuse me, Donald J. Trump. I know firsthand because I heard some things. We all knew the knives would be out. No surprise WAPO would steer this. Didn't see them running character assassination pieces on Ken Paxton. Why would they? That's a Republican. They want them to win. Bezos really wants Collins. I mean, like, look at this shit. Look at this shit. It says, I know firsthand why Platter should be elected, but in fact, the article contains no firsthand experiences whatsoever. Not interested in your gossip, Genevieve. And there you have it. There you fucking have it. If you fell for this anti-Platter shit, like, listen, I was very pissed off about the tattoo, so I feel you. When I first found out about that, I thought it was going to indicate all sorts of shit that we didn't see coming. And then guess what happened? He got it covered up, more investigations were done, and nothing substantiating the idea that he was a Nazi was found. And then now it is a bunch of what? Salacious personal attacks based on nothing. And why is it happening? Because he's an anti-Zionist. And I need you to get tougher and I need you to get smarter about it. Our country, the world, needs Graham Plattner to win. That is not an exaggeration. The human race needs Graham Plattner to win. This is a hinge point in our history. I know a lot of people are going to look at that. It is just reality. There is no path to stopping Trump that doesn't involve winning in Michigan, winning in North Carolina, which would be a flip, winning in Maine, which would be a flip. The Democrats would also need to win in Ohio and then flip either either Iowa or Texas or Montana or Florida. Like even if they won everything, including 3 flips, they still wouldn't have control of the Senate. There is no room for error. I said Indiana instead of Iowa. There is no room for error. None to stop Trump. We have to win every single race. If you're wasting your time on Graham Plattner attacks, you're a fucking hack. You're straight up a hack. And everybody knows it. And I'm calling you out. Like, if you're on the left and you're spending your time going after Graham Plattner, you are a fucking grifter. Literally. And I'm not going to apologize for calling that shit out. All right, everybody. I'm done. I'm done. Thank you so much for hanging out. I gotta go a little bit early today. And by the way, I am like kind of putting this down into stone, right? Like I basically, if you don't care about the United States Senate control, then I don't want to interact with you or collaborate with you in any way. Like, so that's just going to be my new rule. Like, if you're not concerned about like taking away the Senate from the Republican Party in 2026, I don't really want to collaborate with you or promote you. Alrighty, well, I'm going to send you guys, gals, non-binary pals over to the mothership because I got to go. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today. I'll see you all very soon. Solidarity forever. And yeah, we definitely have to help. We need to intervene in the Colorado race. Get rid of Hickenlooper for sure. All right, everybody, stay safe. Solidarity forever, my friends. Socialism will win. I'll see you soon. See ya, everyone. Lainey. See ya. IE. See you soon. PSA cheeks for me. All right. Peace.